we've had Never Again. We've had the most electrifying man in sports entertainment hosting WrestleMania. We've had one of the most disappointing main events in Mania history. And now, the year after, it's WrestleMania 28 with not one, but two important matches on the entire card. Nothing else matters because this is The Rock versus John Cena once in a lifetime this year at WrestleMania 28. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luca and DAD. Welcome to episode 3 of 8 in our John Cena versus The Rock series. If you haven't already watched the first episode, hey, go over to watch the WrestleMania 27 episode. It was painful.
The show was, not our review. Our review is excellent, I would say. But the actual pay-per-view itself, not so great.
I like the cube. And that's about it. Oh, and the first Taker Triple H match.
And Punk and Orton.
Yes, that was above average.
It certainly was.
And then we covered Survivor Series 2011, which is where
I think was worse.
Oh yeah, never again. Please.
Never again on that one.
Which is where The Rock and John Cena had to join forces to overcome the dastardly force that could bring down all of WWE. The awesome truth.
Yeah, of Miz and R-Truth. A match in which The Rock very much had the awesome truth beat in a minute and a half, and then dunderhead John Cena ruined everything, and then he tagged himself in and got beaten up by the awesome truth for 15 minutes until The Rock tagged in and very easily beat the awesome truth.
And just again, I know we do this every episode, this isn't good John Cena. John Cena has not yet won the US title. He's not yet been the favourite thing in the comedy film that you just watched.
No.
This is pre-2015 US title open challenge John Cena, and he sucks.
Do you think he's better on this episode? In this match with The Rock?
You know, there's part...
Think about what you're about to say.
I think he is the same quality of wrestler, but there's something about the way that he's treating the whole main event of this pay-per-view, where he's mostly smiles. And that annoys me.
Yeah, I think that it is not a great John Cena performance, mostly because he has to be on top for most of the match, so The Rock can make the babyface comeback. And John Cena ain't the worker to be getting the heat on The Rock, I don't think. John Cena's not the worker to get the heat on anyone, but he just panics and just like, bear hug, and they just hold on to a bear hug for ages.
Work over the midsection. What is this? Well, you know what? For the whole, just to give a sort of overall thought on the experience of watching WrestleMania 28, which is interesting because we just watched WrestleMania 27, which felt like a stand of WrestleMania for the time. This felt like a real throwback to the 80s cartoon era of WrestleManias, where it was a lot about the spectacle. Oh, look, here's a comedy skit. Here's just like 20 entrances.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this pay-per-view are special guests making their entrances for the match.
Yeah.
Jim Ross gets an entrance. Flo Rida gets an entrance.
Sure he does, and two songs.
Machine
Gun Kelly.
P. Diddy gets an entrance to introduce another musical act. He doesn't even do a song.
No.
He's just there, and he introduces someone. That's for playing out John Cena for the main event, which is, Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh, does he introduce Machine Gun Kelly?
Yes, because then he gets booed when he says, and the ultimate underdog is John Cena. You suck! Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and like how the first WrestleMania you had Liberace as the special guest timekeeper, and Muhammad Ali's out there, Cyndi Lauper. It felt like that, and maybe that's Vince's thinking of, well, The Rock's coming in. This is the biggest match ever. I'm gonna do WrestleMania 1 again.
Well, the idea for this WrestleMania was, much like last year's WrestleMania, we talked about this in the last episode, was the buy rate for WrestleMania 26 was not great. Like, it was still good, but it was not, like, great. So Vince was in a bit of a panic. I need to save WrestleMania. So he brings back The Rock to save WrestleMania 27, and now is bringing back The Rock again to save WrestleMania 28. So this is about getting the biggest buy rate possible, because they have not had a big buy rate since Donald Trump was on WrestleMania. So that's kind of like the idea they're going with. 25 did all right, actually. So that's the idea we're going with here, is that we need to save WrestleMania, and perhaps the way to do that is celebrities, it's musical acts. And I think the bigger thing for WWE is less the celebrities, it's the part-timers. It's bringing back Triple H. It's bringing back The Undertaker. It's bringing back The Rock to be like, hey, lapsed fans, by WrestleMania, all your childhood favorites are still here. Don't worry about Jack Swagger or The Miz. None of them actually matter. Triple H and The Undertaker are wrestling here. Shawn Michaels is on the show.
Yeah. And that was my thought of the time. I think that's the widely agreed upon opinion. This is the start of the part-timer era where WWE, who were already struggling to make new stars, could further not make new stars because they relied too much on the stars of yesteryear who were only around for about a month a year.
If that.
But then watching this, I was really surprised by the amount of just lameness.
Oh, that's the bit you've forgotten about.
The boring lameness.
Yeah.
There is a long sequence here where Brodus Clay comes out. Have I written Brody King?
Could you imagine if it was Brody King doing this?
He would 100% have the same gimmick. He would have the Funkasaurus if he came up in 2010 WWE.
If Brody King came in as Brodus Clay and got the same gimmick, he would have put so much more effort into it than Brodus Clay does. Because that is the thing, going back and watching the Funkasaurus, and I had some people in the office with me, like Gabe was in the office and he was watching this over my shoulder. Wes was there as well, as a Wes. And both of them were like, man, does he just not look like he's into this gimmick. And it is incredible to go back and watch how little effort Brodus Clay puts into the Funkasaurus gimmick, because he clearly does not want to be doing it.
Yeah, but then he went on to much bigger things. That
NWA
talent was
champion.
there.
You know, he's NWA champion. You know,
Fox News presenter.
That cracking match that he had with EC3 at that NWA show.
But yeah, I don't want to spoil for when we get into it, but he leads a 2 to 3 minute long segment with a bunch of dancing grandmas.
Do you know why that segment happens?
Well, allegedly, it was that the John Cena needed more time so Brodus Clay could get a WrestleMania moment.
Should I just read the quote now? We'll skip ahead to...
I don't believe that.
Okay, well,
because they had clearly planned a large musical number.
So this is what he said to Chris Van Vliet. We were supposed to have a match with Heath Slater, but time got cut. And Cena did one of the most selfless things that a guy who's the top guy who doesn't have to do things like this. He was in there and Vince was shaking his head. The match before wasn't one particular thing, but they were heavy on time and they'd gone over. And he's shaking his head. And I think he was talking to Michael Hayes and one of the other producers and was like, I think we're going to have to cut it. Then all of a sudden, Cena was getting ready. He's right behind me. He looks at me and goes, I have to go to the bathroom. I went, what? He's like, I have to go to the bathroom. I don't know. Usually I go to the bathroom. I don't know what, 8 minutes? 6 minutes? I was like, 6. I can get it in 6. He's like, all right. And he just walked out of Gorilla. So now I had to go. So I went and I got my WrestleMania moment because Cena had to go to the bathroom.
I see. So it was going to get cut, but John Cena inflicted that segment on me. You've not made me like... That's meant to be a story about what a good guy John Cena is.
Selfless guy.
Selfless guy.
He gave
not for the audience.
I don't know. There was that one guy that went to phone his mama because Brodus Clay said,
yeah, he
we're all going to phone our mama.
He looked sad.
Yeah.
He didn't look happy to be part of the festivities there.
So because John Cena had to go take a dump, we got Brodus Clay taking a dump on WrestleMania for 6 minutes.
You can't pee me.
Very good.
I don't know if it fully works because he did pee. Yeah. But thanks for saying it was nice.
I thought it was good.
Yeah,
man.
it was more of a high spot. If you dive into the pun, it doesn't make sense.
So it is April 1st, 2012.
April Fool's Day.
And what a fool we were. Where were you when the show was on?
So I remember this weekend really vividly because this is sort of my peak of I have just discovered this wonderful thing called non-WWE or TNA wrestling. So I've been really deep into Ring of Honor for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years by this point, the HD Net era into the Sinclair era in the early days when Jim Cornette was booking. But also, I was going to British wrestling shows. I was now like probably just under a year into Progress. You know, I was going to, from chapter 2 onwards, didn't go to chapter 1 because a gal surprised me with a trip to the Cotswolds.
And just so we're all clear, you were going to Progress before it was cool.
Yes, yeah, well, thank you for saying. Thank you for saying. So yeah, I was really, really deep into that stuff. And I was like, WWE don't care about it, although obviously I watched it every week. And I was definitely watching WrestleMania. And me and Kem and Dan, we had the whole weekend planned. We were going to do a weekend of wrestling.
Nice.
Yeah, where we were going to... Was Ring of Honor 2 nights?
2 nights of Ring of Honor, yeah.
So we watched... we went to a wrestling show in the day. Maybe it was Brit Rest Fest, which was a sort of medley show of loads of promotions.
Yeah.
Which is really good. I think that's where I first saw Rampage Brown.
They sort of do that now on All In Weekend. They did one last year, didn't they, with like Hustle and a couple of other promotions.
Yeah, so every match was a different promotion as a way to showcase everything. It's like, for where I was at in my wrestling fandom, perfect thing to happen.
Love it.
To go, it's not just here's a British wrestling show. Here's the best match that every wrestling promotion in Britain has to offer.
Yeah.
And then, I don't think Progress was involved in that. So maybe that happened pre-Progress. Anyway, whatever happened. I went to at least 1 or 2 live wrestling shows in London that weekend. Watched Ring of Honor on the Friday night, was it?
Yes, I think it was
Yeah,
Friday.
so went round to Dan's,
Yes,
watched that on the Saturday. No spoilers. Then we went to watch something live. Then the next day, I slept round his, and we probably just watched our favourite CM Punk on commentary compilation, where he just craps on Stanley.
What's his name?
Stanford.
Scott Stanford. Stanley. I was about to say Stan Stasiak.
Stanley metaphor. And then on the Sunday, we got up, we watched the second night of Ring of Honor, and it had, I believe, Michael Elgin versus Davey Richards.
Correct.
And I was like, that's the best match I've ever seen.
That comes up a lot in the coverage of this
Does it
WrestleMania
really?
weekend, is particularly when talking about Taker Michaels, it was absolutely incredible and one of the best matches you're ever going to see if you weren't at Ring of Honor the previous night to watch Davey Richards and Michael Elgin.
Oh, good, because that's certainly what I felt at the time. And I think I agree now. You know, I've not watched Elgin Richards back. But that was a really good storyline. I know Elgin has, sort of...
He's problematic now.
There's lots of stuff that's gone wrong there since. But at the time, he was the new hot prospect guy who was really steadily booked over the course of a year through the mid-card, and this was him stepping into the main event scene. And Davey Richards was like the John Cena of Ring of Honor at the time. I loved him. Jim Cornette loved him.
Not a lot about
It was a bit boring. Tough guy, though. Liked him. And this was the match. The only thing I really clearly remember from the match is Michael Elgin, I think, does a kick out at 1. And it was... I've not been watching Japanese wrestling. That's like the first modern kick out at 1 I'd seen in a big main event match. Obviously, Sting used to do it all the time, but this is like... in this period of my fandom.
I think Sting doing it slightly different to the kick out at 1.
Yes.
That is a Sting spot. The kick out at 1, I think, is a different spot.
And he fires back. And then I think Richards hits him with a finisher. But then Elgin gets up. He's on his knees. He's obviously out. Like, he's gone. But he's like, it's the fighting spirit. And he spits at Davey Richards. And Davey Richards, like, wipes off his face. I'm probably getting all this wrong. And he hits him with whatever Davey Richards' finisher was. I don't know, a clothesline?
The AA.
Yeah. Knocks him in the STF. Loads of space around his neck. And, then Richards won. And I was just like, I had never experienced so viscerally the fighting spirit spot.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind. So then Dan and I think we stayed up. Yeah, we stayed up all night to watch WrestleMania live. And we see the Triple H spot where he gives the DX. And And we're like, oh, yeah, but that's good. The Elgin fiery spot was way better, though.
Yeah.
I think that was also the weekend where I realised I overdosed in wrestling.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah,
too much of a good thing.
Before then, I hadn't found my limit. And it turns out that 5 wrestling shows, probably 3-4 hours on each. So cumulatively, let's say 20 hours of wrestling over a 48-hour period was too much.
I felt that when we went to All In last year, because we did Riot Cabaret on the Friday night, and then the Rev Pro show on the Saturday, and then All In on the Sunday. And I remember sitting down in my seat for All In, and like 12 people came out for a 12-man tag. And I was like, I feel like I've had a lot. I've had my fill of wrestling now.
I think that might have been a better experience if we could see what was going on.
Potentially, yeah. You know, AEW couldn't afford that third screen, apparently, to bring down for All In.
The majority of their audience.
Everyone passed over here, but we don't get a screen, unfortunately. Yeah, I had that, but I didn't have that on this Mania weekend, because this is my first Mania where I've got new friends.
Oh, you've got new wrestling friends.
So last episode, I talked about how I watched Mania 27 on my own, and that was like The Rock had come back and I was watching it on my lonesome. This, I've now got friends to watch wrestling with, and one of those friends in particular, like me, is also a big wrestling observer, reader, listener, big fan of the Brian and Vinny show, big fan of Dave and Brian and all this sort of stuff. So we were like super into this and talking about like the business aspect of WWE, the business aspect of WrestleMania and kind of what it means. He's also someone who was working in BritWres at the time. Just going to name drop. He's the guy who wrote Bob Holly's autobiography, and he wrote Hornswoggle's autobiography, and I think he might have collaborated with Al Snow on his autobiography. He kind of became like the guy that was, if you need your autobiography written but you don't know how to do it, go speak with Ross, because Ross knows how to
If you don't know how to write,
go speak to Ross. Because him and Bob were going to work on like a couple of other projects together as well, because Bob like really loved working with Ross. So Ross came in with a lot of like, you know, we would talk about a lot of the insider stuff of wrestling, but this is a WrestleMania we watched together, me, him, and our friend John, who's best man at my wedding. And
I've met John.
You have met John.
Can I tell a quick John story?
Go for it.
He, in his best man speech, which was really lovely,
Always talking.
maybe optimistically tried an audiovisual component. He wanted to play the glorious theme tune from Bobby Roode.
Which was big at the time.
Well behind that, but he did it by getting it on his phone and playing it into the microphone off his phone.
Yeah.
I was one of the few people popping. I loved it.
Yeah, there was 3 of us that knew
people.
There were 3 of us that knew who that was, and it was me, you, and John.
But that's the level. I say that because that's the level of wrestling fan John is. He'll do something not in the best interests of the wedding.
No, but just for the 3 of us.
To do the wrestling.
So we watched this together, and the big discussion of the night was who wins the main event. Because I was so adamant Cena should win this main event. I was like, Cena should win. I know it's in Miami. I know it's The Rock's first singles match back. But Cena's going to be there tomorrow night. Cena's going to be there for the rest of the year. The Rock's not going to be there for the rest of this year. And I didn't know at this point they were looking to do the rematch the following year afterwards, which now, you know, in hindsight, makes way much more sense. But in my head at this point, I was like, as much as I am not a Cena guy, Cena should be winning this main event.
Well, they keep on saying once in a lifetime. And the previous thing was never again.
Yeah.
They went out of their way to say, this is only happening once.
Yeah.
So the idea of, I imagine you did not like Cena at this point.
No.
But you thought the right thing to do is for Cena to win, because Rock's not going to be around.
Rock's not going to be around. And I was like a WWE fan at this point and like I was kind of off the TNA train at this point.
Yeah.
The Hogan era had completely killed me off.
Yeah.
Him and Bischoff had drove me away from TNA. I wasn't getting into Ring of Honor at this point, so it really was. WWE was my wrestling. And going to some like very small indie shows. I wasn't in London, so I wasn't going to things like Progress or anything like that. I was going to ones at in like libraries. And sort of like sports centers and things like that. Because I was doing a radio show around this point, I think, and I had like some wrestlers on there to kind of promote like local wrestling shows that were happening. And So I was a WWE fan, because I kind of had to be. That was my main avenue of wrestling. But I was a WWE fan that was like, can't be focusing on these part-timers. Like, we should be looking at your Zack Ryders, your Dolph Ziglers, your Jack Swaggers of all people. It's like, you've got an undercard here that should not feel like the undercard. They should be your upper mid-card and kind of refreshing up your main event scene. Give CM Punk some brand new challenges to establish this long run. But we were also of the thing, because I had a lot of people when Ryback's going to get hot later on this year, where I was like, put the title on Ryback. And I was like, you can't put the title on Ryback. It's for Punk. It's for Rock to win at Rumble. Like, Rock has to win the title at Rumble so we can face Cena in the main event of 29. That's the best thing for business, is for Rock to beat CM Punk.
Yeah, but Punk could have won it back from Ryback.
No, because you need to have Rock end the legendary reign. Like, if Rock just wins the title, it doesn't mean as much as Rock ending 430 odd days of CM Punk as world champion.
Yeah. Well, maybe you dodged a bullet with the Ryback push. He was over, though. Jesus Christ.
But do you know what you don't do? Put him in a Hell in a Cell match with CM Punk, then on the day be like, oh man, how are we going to get out of this? Because I don't want to pin Ryback.
Oh, we got
Brad Maddox. He's right there. So I'm at a very interesting point of my wrestling fandom where I am like, kind of where I am now as a wrestling fan, where I look at things not just as the product that's on screen, but the wider business aspect of it. Because I'm so into Wrestling Observer Radio at this point. I was always reading the Observer, but now I'm like every day. Observer Live in particular, I listen to Observer Live. It's later on. It's next year I call into Observer Live.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Well, we played the audio clip of it on a previous Patreon episode.
Play it again.
I'm not playing it again when I call in to ask if Big E winning the Intercontinental Championship means they're going to take this belt seriously. Boy, was I wrong.
So, yeah, I was not into the business side. I was just really consuming Solid Monster, I think, by this point. And it was mostly creative stuff.
Yeah.
Who could feud with who, what a good match that was, this is bad. Occasionally I'd drop in, this person's got heat with this. I read this in the Observer. But yeah, I wasn't on the business back-end stuff yet. I was really, really into the on-screen product. Because I was finding a lot of enjoyment in the actual in-ring wrestling and the creative. So I had Ring of Honor.
I was going to say, I think that's why I'm getting more into the business side of things at the moment, because the TV's just not very exciting.
Bad.
It's like, creatively, it's really boring. So over on patreon.com/WrestleTalk, you can go and listen to the next episode of this right now, where we review Raw 1000. And that is a bad show that has got a really killer main event angle, but it is a much better show than Raw usually was around this time, because Raw is a boring show. And it now is going to 3 hours of boring. SmackDown is a nothing show. This is pre-NXT, like proper black and gold NXT. This is a time when WWE is a bad product to be a fan of.
Pre-NXT, pre-Wyatt family, pre-Shield. Shield would come in later this year in Survivor.
No, it's the... Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
because they're on WrestleMania next year. That's right.
Yeah, and they're an act who tries to stop The Rock, right? In the Royal Rumble.
You're absolutely
right. That's why they do the restart.
And they come in and I'm like, oh, great, 3 new guys.
Yes.
Exciting.
But right now, very bad. What about just life in general? Where you at in April 2012?
So I'm working at the Yellow Pages in their websites division. So we would have the Yellow Pages, which, if anyone's not in the UK, was a phone book. It was our phone directory.
It's a physical Google.
Yes, and it was where everyone's phone number was in there, and businesses would have their phone numbers in there as well. So it's like, I need a plumber, and then it'd be like a list of plumbers.
And occasionally a few naughty adverts.
Really?
Yeah, but our Yellow Page, we always used to flick through them. You get like 2 a year, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, let's find all the naughty things. Oh, adult chats, erotic fortune telling. There was like 3 pages in my Dartford one.
I don't remember
just
that.
Fortune tellers.
The thing that we always used to make fun of or laugh at was the incredible names that businesses had, because the idea of the Yellow Pages is to try and be the first listing. So if you are Aaron A. Aronson, you're going to do pretty well because you are bang right there in the middle. But that doesn't really work for a plumbing company. So then it'd be like double A plumbing, but below them is triple A plumbing. Below them, quadruple A plumbing. A-star plumbing.
A1.
A1
A1 plumbing.
Oh, the guy from Team Canada.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was working for the Yellow Pages, and they were going into a more
Delivering
digital.
them.
No, more digital.
Yes.
Where they were now trying to, hey, the old physical book is probably no more. We need to move into an online sphere. So it was becoming an online directory for businesses. But what they would do is when they were like, you advertise in the Yellow Pages, we will also build you a website. So I then was a project manager for those websites. So I would have calls with the businesses. They would tell me about their business, what they do. I would then build those websites, and I would write up the copy for them, do all the images and things like that. And then there became like different packages for those. And there was like a much premium package where you got a much more bespoke. They did do all your social media and some video content. And I was now in that. And I was kind of working my way up the ladder with 0 pay increases. And I was earning very little money for doing quite a lot of work. But I did meet John through doing that, and a couple of other guys who, I remember one of them coming in, and I didn't know he was a wrestling fan, but he knew I was a wrestling fan. And he came in and said, "Did CM Punk really say that about Vince McMahon on Raw last night?"
Nice.
The night after the pipe bomb. So that was sort of like a few of us then started to become, a little wrestling group. I found my wrestling friends.
It's different now, isn't it? Because I feel like wrestling people will just, you'll see someone share something on their Instagram, and then you'll talk to them at work. But back in 2012 and before, it was very much I heard you like wrestling. Mm-hmm. Did you watch Raw last night? It was like a very secretive thing, but all the wrestling fans always found each other.
Yeah.
Even though everything was like, a bit quiet.
My one now is I hear it through podcasts. You're listening to a podcast, and then someone will say, "Oh, this is a bit like what they're doing in WWE right now." And you're like, "Oh wow, you're also a wrestling fan,"
Yeah.
Or like it's a guest on a podcast, and you find out just the way they talk is like, "Oh yeah, they're a wrestling fan."
But that's cool now.
Yeah.
Freaking Bad Bunny's in WWE.
I guess so,
But
yeah. Also around this time, I'm in a band. I'm drumming regularly. My band is gigging pretty much every weekend.
They're blading. Gigging every week.
Oh man,
Blood everywhere.
Ruined so many drum sets. So we were playing a lot of shows. I was in a relationship that I turned out I was massively unhappy in, but I did not know that at this point. I would discover that in maybe a year's time or so.
Oh, well, that might be a Patreon exclusive episode.
Well, yeah, I suppose on the next episode, will probably be towards the tail end of me figuring out that I'm massively unhappy in that relationship.
Was it CM Punk turning heel on The Rock that made you think, wait a second?
No, I'm not doing the Patreon episode.
Oh,
next, when we do WrestleMania 29, as the next episode after this, they're on the YouTube feed. And what was the other thing? I was on podcasting a lot.
Yeah.
Because I got into podcasting before it was cool.
You did.
I was releasing podcasts in, I think 2008 was when I released my first podcast. In 2008.
What did you cover?
It was me and my friend Drew, and we'd had a comedy podcast where we took an askance view at news.
Dear, it's so cringy, isn't it?
Yeah, we would try and find like wacky news stories, and we would talk about those. We would do skits, make music videos, did the Cinnamon Challenge because it's 2008.
Yeah, it's viral. Get on that trend.
Exactly. And because we were Luke and Drew, it was called Ladcast.
I'm not holding my head in my hands because it was called Ladcast, Luke. I'm holding my head in my hands because independently, me, Kenaman, Dan, and Graham tried to start the Ladcast. And you know what the segments were?
What?
Skits. Looking at strange stories from the week with a comedic view.
Yep.
And going through Graham's love life. I think we recorded 3 episodes.
Oh, we went for about a year or so.
Oh, no. It was a sort of project that was like, yeah, let's do this. And everyone was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. But then the actual realities of doing stuff with your friends who actually just want to take ketamine more.
Yeah, we were releasing weekly episodes.
No way.
For about a year or so, we were releasing the Ladcast.
You were doing radio, you said, so I just suppose it's another outlet.
That was it. I wanted to be like, I liked doing broadcasting and things like that, so it was kind of just the next step. And then my radio show, I also used to edit out the music that we played, and I would put that up as a podcast from my Saturday morning show.
Yeah, that was the way at the time. How did you get a following? Did you get anyone?
We'd have
message
about
him?
12 listeners, and we knew all 12 of them because they were our friends. We tried things like Facebook. We had a Facebook page for it. Sadly, no longer available. I think all the episodes are. I think it's probably for the best that they're all lost to time, but they are all lost to time. I don't even have backups of them. Yeah. I think my radio show. I'm going to double check this now, but I think my radio show is still available on Apple Podcasts. I'm not going to say it because people will go back and listen to it, but I'm just going to quickly double check.
I still remember when we got our first email from someone we didn't know for our podcast, our old movie podcast. I was like, and it was a really well thought out. It was like, do you remember? It was like 1,000 words diving deep into Spider-Man lore.
Yes.
And I was like,
oh yeah.
Not only do we not know this person and they just listened to our thing and they've emailed in, they put loads of time and effort into it.
I've actually found. So I posted an episode of that show. It is still available in the archives. Around this time as well, there's an episode posted here on the 11th of March, 2012, titled...
Did you ever do
Ellis, can you make a little note to just bleep out the title of that episode? Because I think people will be able to find it that way. Thank you. I don't want people... if I want to share this, I will put it out.
Yes.
But, yeah. I need to re-listen to some of it.
That's fair. No one wants to go back and see what they used to do.
So I've got my the movie I made when I finished university, The Good, the Bad, and the Undead, and I do have it loaded to YouTube on my own YouTube channel, and it is unlisted, and it's been sat there for about 2 years now because I'm too afraid to put it out in case people watch it and be like, man, you say some gnarly shit in this.
Well, you don't have to put out everything you make.
No, I know, but that's it, and that's why I haven't done it, because I'm like, I am proud that I did it.
Yeah.
And I think it is all right. As someone who's never made a film before, with a crew who'd never made a film of this length before, I think we did all right. But it's also the writings of a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
A 22-year-old man, no less. Let's be honest, a 22-year-old boy who was trying to be a man and trying to be very grown up. That when I look back at it, I'm like, whew, some of this dialogue is bad.
I have heard what adults talk about in dramas.
It's less that. It is, I am a 22-year-old who likes Kevin Smith movies.
Oh, yeah. It's the... Or the sort of Quentin Tarantino. When we did scripts for our university course, I'd always do the Tarantino template of pop culture riff, then bring it back to the plot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like 2 pages of just 2 guys debating, I don't know, an obscure British TV show. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at in my life as it currently is. Yeah. Where are you working at this point?
I'm For Music.
You are For Music.
For Music here. This is shortly before they said, hey, you should move over to the production department.
Is this the period of time, because this is that job as well, or is this a different one? The one where you were doing like such crazy hours that your dad used to drive behind you?
That's Arkiva.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, that was, that's ESPN and BT Sport and that sort of stuff. Yeah. Now, this was For Music. I was in broadcast, so I was just making sure the music videos were playing out, and there were so many graphics on the screen. And because it was like every 3 minutes there was a new bit of media that loaded into the system, it also loaded all its unique graphics. Everything was always screwing up. Yeah. The whole engineering department, which was this huge room full of racks, because they'd only just moved away from proper tapes that you put in and play, would constantly overheat. You'd have... I'd be like looking at things because I was managing 7 channels, and then I'd see, oh no, Khalees says it's number 44. It should be number 40. And I'll go back and I'll look at the recordings of it. Oh my God, it's been stuck at 44 for 10 minutes. The people watching Kiss's top 50 bangers for Ibiza, they just think Khalees isn't as good as we think she is.
She thinks she's 4 spots lower.
Yeah. So it was a constant fire putting out job. But yeah, I had my wrestling friends.
Yeah.
So I remember coming in after this show and just being like, yes.
Yes, right? So that was the big thing for us, was the yes chant. This was kind of like our first, this is the genesis of it.
Yeah.
Like, he'd been doing it on shows, but it was not getting over, like, because it was a heel thing. But this is the traveling crowd, and this traveling crowd want to do the yes chants.
And you know, like, how fun it is to go, yeah, now, because it's new, it's fresh, or yeet, I guess, is the more up-to-date one. I cannot get over how fun it was to say yes with the arm movements all the time.
Yeah.
It'd be like, 10, 15 times a day. Yes.
Yeah.
And it looks so lame.
I know, but
It's work.
It's mad.
Me and Mike. Sometimes Sneedy in accounting. He might roll his chair over.
Nice.
You're right, boys. You see Raw last night?
Yes. I mean, it's great because we're going to get to chart literally in the next episode of this over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk that they're already trying to kill it. It's like, so this is April. Raw 1000 is in July. Brian's not doing it because he's a heel, and we don't want you doing this chant because we don't want it getting over. We're going to give it to other people to do.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But anyway, would you like some Observer notes?
Oh, yes. Tell me, please.
So you've already mentioned Ring of Honor. So Ring of Honor Night 1. Do you want to have a guess what the best match was?
So this, I can't even remember what the show was. It's WrestleMania weekend, so it's Super Card of Honor, is it?
Well, they just call it Ring of Honor Night 1.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird that, like, now I'm like, oh, God, 2 nights of a wrestling show. But back then, drink it up. Give me more.
On iPay-per-view, no less.
What, the Night 1
best
main
match.
event? Oh,
best match, yeah. Best match by the Observer poll.
Did the American Wolves have a tag match on Night 1?
They did.
But it's not that.
It's not that.
I couldn't tell you.
Steen Generico. I think they have a last man standing match. And the worst was Benjamin and Haas versus Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander.
Oh, that's unfair. But yeah, America's greatest tag team by that point were going off the rails a bit.
Night 2, best match.
What? Surely it's Richards Elgin.
It is. It's Richard Elgin. And the worst match was Tommaso Ciampa versus Cedric Alexander.
So Ciampa was really, really new at that point.
Yeah.
He had hair, I think.
Yeah.
He didn't even have bleached hair by this point, I'm pretty sure. And then he went in and out with knee injuries. And it wasn't until another knee injury, he comes back and he becomes a Sicilian psychopath.
Yes.
And he's bleached his hair. And it's like, oh my God, he's awesome.
Dragon Gate USA were also running shows. I only wanted to mention this as well because the best match, as voted for by the Observer readers, was Masaki Mochizuki, apologies if I got that wrong, versus Akira Tozawa. Just thought that was fun to note.
He's a good wrestler.
Well, there was a point in time when he was thought to be one of the best wrestlers in the world. Anyway, Ring of Honor had its biggest weekend of the year with shows on the 30th and 31st on iPay-per-view from the War Memorial Auditorium in Fort Lauderdale.
Sorry, just to interject, it's my birthday weekend as well.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So that's why we were doing all this stuff. It was for my birthday.
The biggest positive was the main event of the second show, an ROH title match where Davey Richards retained the title, beating Michael Elgin in what was among the best matches in the history of the company, and with all respect to Undertaker vs. Triple H and the Dragon Gate Trios match, the best match of the weekend. Not only was it a great match, but it was a breakthrough match as well, at least those who saw it. Elgin went from being a powerful guy who was just below top tier in the company to a guy people expect to become ROH champion and one of the company's major stars unless they do a WWE and drop the ball on his booking. Unlike other matches over the weekend for Ring of Honor, thankfully the gods were on their side here because there were no technical problems and the match was just as good on iPay-per-view as it was live. Live, you had the advantage of being part of the crowd, and at home you could still feel the crowd going wild at the end, but the commentary, which was excellent in the match, added an enhancement factor. Unfortunately, that would make it the exception to the rule. The 30th show was clearly a very good live show, but problems with audio and video not being in sync completely ruined it on iPay-per-view. It appeared there was something wrong and the video was slightly low. What would happen is every 20 to 30 minutes they would manage to get things in sync, and slowly the gap time between the audio being ahead of the video would lengthen, usually 30 seconds by the middle of the match. It became annoying to hear the announcers talk about things and hear bumps and crowd reactions, and then you would see it 3 or 4 moves later. Really, unless you loved wrestling to the point of having no trouble being annoyed by it, you would have difficulty getting through the show. And there's one of the other spots from it. I like when you kind of read these things and you hear names that are so prevalent now, and here was what they were doing at this point. Jim Cornette came out with NWA champion Adam Pearce.
Scrap Daddy.
The previous night in Fort Lauderdale, Pearce beat Adam Cole, managed by Cornette, with a low blow to retain the title. Evidently, part of the agreement would be that Pearce would come here unadvertised to return the favour. They talked for a while and set up the match. Cornette made it clear that he didn't have the authority to set up an NWA title match, but they got into the ring and they could send out a ref, so they did the match, and Pearce, working in his clothes, got pinned by Adam Cole. One of the other matches from Ring of Honor was TJ Perkins pinning Fire Ant in 8 minutes in a match billed as Ring of Honor versus Chikara.
Fire Ant is who? Is that?
Well, I'm going
that Quackenbush?
I'm going to read this because it's not Quackenbush, but I'll just read this because this is Dave's review of it. Aside from more Colt Cabana chants, it was quite early. Then we got some Let's Go Cena chants, and you know what followed there. My son, who comes from a generation of fourth graders who thinks wrestling is for losers, liked Fire Ant and this match. Perkins won with a 450 splash, 2.25 stars. Fire Ant is Orange Cassidy.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense now.
And that's what I thought was really interesting is because Meltzer has always said that Orange Cassidy has got this ability to connect with people who tend not to be wrestling fans as well as wrestling fans.
Yeah, that whole Chikara group, they're very weird in that way. TJP, by the way, he's probably 14 in that match. Yeah. He's been wrestling since he was like 9.
Would you like some TNA news?
Oh, can I just give you a...
Yes.
I saw Elgin shortly after this. Like me and Cam and Dan, we got on a train to Sittingbourne.
Wow.
In Kent, which was, not the easiest place to get to.
Nope.
And
like a lot of places in Kent.
And we had to walk from the station, like through a residential estate. Dan hit his head on a lamppost. It was the funniest thing. He got so annoyed. He gets really annoyed when I could not stop laughing. Anyway, that's by the by. And we go there because Michael Elgin is having a match against Walter.
No way. That's right.
And Walter, Big Van Walter was his name back then. He sucked. And we were just there for Elgin. We just wanted Elgin to do all his spots, like the spin round power bomb, the deadlift suplex over the top rope.
Yeah.
I think he did it before Claudio. But Walter won. We're like, this is rubbish. This is the whole reason we came here to see Elgin win, because we weren't following Rev Pro at the time.
Yeah.
And we bought Michael Elgin a drink afterwards and gave him a pint and got in a picture with him. And he downed it, which was, like in hindsight, it's like, oh, okay. That felt like a normal thing to do in 2012.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Would you like some TNA news?
Yes.
Sorry, just before we do, I was talking about the Ladcast. My friend Jim used to make fun of it because, and I've only just remembered at the time, there was an adult channel on Sky called Babecast.
Yes.
And it's like, why have you named it after the channel where you can phone up sexy ladies to pretend that they're enjoying having a conversation with you?
It's ironic.
It was Luke and Drew. It makes sense. Anyway, TNA news. In the latest Angle on Twitter stuff...
TNA is going to... In other news, TNA is still TNA.
When someone asked if he'd go back to WWE and take Sting with him, he said, I wish. Sting will stay in TNA.
And he was proven wrong 2 years later.
So imagine him being like, I wish I could go back. But Sting's stuck here.
But was that Kurt Angle sending that tweet, or was...
Could have been hacked.
Yeah.
He might agree with it. But
But he might not have hit send.
No. Scott Steiner is off the TNA roster because his contract expired and he decided against signing an extension. He hadn't been used in months on television and he wasn't a major part of plans, which may be why he didn't care to sign a new deal. This has no effect on him regarding Ring Car King because all Ring Car King talent deals are separate from TNA deals, even the ones who are working both groups. Steiner wrote on Twitter that he's not bitter at TNA, that he got an extension signed by TNA but decided against it. But he did knock Hogan and Bischoff, saying, right now I'm trying to save TNA because it's the Titanic and it's sinking fast because Hogan and Bischoff are doing the same bullshit they did to destroy WCW. It took them 1.5 months to drive TNA to its lowest ratings ever. The best way to save it is to jump off and be the voice for the guys that can't say anything.
What, a stand-up guy? Genuinely, I think Scott Steiner gets better with age because at the time I'd have probably been like, well, you should stay and fight for TNA. That's not the truth. But now I'm like, I think you made the right decision.
I mean, I was off the TNA train at this point. Jeff Hardy was 100% fine at the last pay-per-view and subsequent tapings. This is obviously less than a year removed from Victory Road. He's basically been praised everywhere, but him missing that one show at the previous taping was a cause for concern, given how many times he's had issues in the past. He was with Ric Flair all night before, and he couldn't work the next day. With the Nature Boy all night, there are no video games, only food poisoning.
Yes.
Orton was dropped from the lead role of the movie Marine Homefront, because as soon as the word got out, the Marines were furious. Corporal Mike Vinn and other members of the Devil Dogs, a Marine Corps unit that Orton deserted in 1999, contacted the Marines, who contacted WWE. WWE issued an apology and pulled Orton from the movie, then told TMZ.com that, quote, WWE demonstrated poor judgment in signing Randy Orton for the third installment of the film. Despite Randy's popularity, the fact that he was dishonorably discharged from the US Marine Corps made it inappropriate for him to be cast in this film.
A rare misstep for WWE's relationships with the armed forces.
Yeah.
So is that how The Miz got the... Is it The Miz who goes into the Marine?
Oh, it might be how The Miz gets into that. Because I think that's the third one. Yes, it would be, because Ted DiBiase Jr. Is the Marine too, when they thought that he was going to be the next big thing. Not that Cody Rhodes fella.
The Marine franchise. Well, obviously John Cena was number one. Yep, Ted DiBiase is Marine 2. A Marine 3 Homefront, just going by the cover of the video, is The Miz.
And he becomes basically the star of that franchise.
Yeah, and then he's also the star with Summer Rae in 2015's Marine 4.
Tell you what, that'd be a fun series to do on Patreon, is review all the Marine movies.
A sort of cutscene crossover. And then here he is, a Marine 5 Battleground.
So that's the one with Becky Lynch, right?
I don't think so.
It's Becky Lynch not in that one?
No, it's Bo Dallas, Heath Slater, Curtis Axel, Naomi, and Maurice.
Which is the one that... Is she Marine 6? I'm
pretty sure did they make?
I'm sure Becky was in one of them.
I can't find an end to this franchise. Oh, okay, here we go. Becky Lynch and Shawn Michaels, Marine 6, Close Quarters.
There you go. Man, that's 6 months of content we could do right there.
I've only ever seen the first one.
So have I. Yeah. Well,
it wasn't very good.
It's not like I was desperate to watch more Marine movies after the first one. Starring The Miz, no less. An article in the New Times on the WWE Network.
Interesting.
Interviewed Chief Marketing Officer Michelle Wilson. She said there will be a WWE Network in some shape or form. We are in the late stage negotiations with distributors. Getting a distribution agreement for a cable network is not easy. So this is when the WWE Network is a TV channel and will remain that way probably until the next year. And then that's when the plan starts to move into it being an online, probably because they're struggling to get a distribution deal for a network.
Yeah, because they did have, was it WWE 24/7?
Yeah. And
you could sort of select their archive clips there.
Yeah, that's exactly what
this
they're
was
talking about.
before they had a really big presence on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And they announced that they have a start date for the company, as in the portion of the company. They've hired 30 people of the expected 120 hires thus far. Wilson said that there will be a reality TV show on the Divas going on tour on the new network. They would also air old wrestling TV shows and old WWE movies. She said the battle plan is to charge cable companies a per-household carriage charge. The timing of releases is not the best since cable companies are now wanting to add new expenses, nor interested in passing them on to consumers, since for the first time in history, people are slowly moving away from cable and satellite dishes.
Oh my God, that is 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And that is ridden every year since. And you got to give WWE credit. They were a first mover in the we are a brand, we have our own streaming service.
Yeah, and one of the shows they would debut on the network when it does launch is Legends House, which was not intended to be a network show. As they write here. They also indicated Legends House would be on the network. As noted before filming started, when a production call was put out for the show, it was listed as a sci-fi network show with a debut in April. Now there has been no announcement of the show airing on Sci-Fi. However, all the participants of the show, Roddy Piper, Hillbilly Jim, Jim Duggan, Tony Atlas, Pat Patterson, Howard Finkel, Gene Okerlund, and Jimmy Hart, are scheduled to appear on SmackDown on Sci-Fi. The timing would be right for those appearances to promote the show, but that is yet to be announced. So they filmed the show, it's in the canon, it's edited, supposed to air on Sci-Fi. Then Sci-Fi essentially didn't want it, and it would just sit in the archive until they launched the network 2 years later, and then put out Legends House. Have you ever watched it?
Bits. I think I definitely watched the first episode, and then I've watched loads of clips since. What about you?
I have watched like bits and pieces of it. I remember watching it on the network because you got the WWE network, and I think you and I were part of those people in the UK that were like, I'm just going to use a VPN and just get the America. I'll put my address in as Disney World, so I could get a WWE network account. Do you know what was the first thing you watched on there?
Oh, I can't remember.
Mine was Invasion.
Maybe it was like WCW Bash at the Beach.
That was
heel turn.
That was my second one. I watched was Halloween Havoc '98, and I couldn't get it to load because the network was really quite bad in its first month of getting things to load. This is an interesting one from the Observer. I just wanted to note this up. I was told about this story and had forgotten about it, but it's really relevant now. In 2001, before WrestleMania 17, we had John Cena as a guest on the radio show.
On Wrestling Observer Radio?
Yeah. This was in a period of time when WWE would allow talent to appear on Wrestling Observer Radio. This was when he was still in developmental, and we were talking about the impending heel turn of Steve Austin and the idea there might be a screw job in the main event of Mania that year when Austin wrestled Rock. So, to take a step back, could you imagine this now? WWE letting talent, A, go on Wrestling Observer Radio, and B, allowing the talent to give their thoughts on reports about upcoming plans for WrestleMania.
I mean, I would say those things are kind of true now.
I suppose they kind of do with Chris.
Maybe not Wrestling Observer Radio.
Yeah,
but,
maybe Chris Van Vliet a little bit.
Yeah, certain select podcasts or radio stations, they will talk about elements of booking. Like CM Punk on a podcast said, if it was up to him, he wouldn't have had Jay win the Royal Rumble. I
guess, but I'm talking more about, like, they are talking about in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania 17, there's reports that Austin's going to turn heel in the main event of WrestleMania. What do you think about that? Like, I think that is the sort of thing that WWE would like, don't ask talent about those sorts of things. But anyway, Cena at the time thought it would be a terrible idea to turn Austin because some people shouldn't turn. It's not like he was the only one thinking that, because pretty much the majority of people thought that, but the point is, when it did happen, business hit the skids immediately and actually never came back to even nearly that level again, even when they turned Austin face. When Austin, who was in favour of the turn, feeling he'd done all he could as a face, will now say with hindsight it was a bad move because every business indicator showed it. That may be one reason why Cena does not want to turn, and he has said that he would fight a turn, and why Cena was adamant about, win or lose, that the finish of a dream match after a long build had to be clean in the middle with no interference. So the message is like, I was reminded of this thing. I interviewed him in 2001, and he said, you should not do this in the main event of WrestleMania and one of your guys turning heel. And his argument now is like, I should never turn heel, and we should do a clean finish for this match.
Yeah. Yeah, but very, very, foreshadowing. That's long-term booking.
Yeah. Here's a mad one. They had a business deal on the 31st of March in the morning with major execs at like 9 a.m. And they brought in R-Truth and Brodus Clay to dance, which must have thrilled them given that most of these guys were up late the night before playing video games, or whatever video games is supposed to mean. Vince talked about having Flow Rider at Mania and all these things. It was described as the Kool-Aid meeting where they kept pushing social media. So Vince arranged a meeting at 9 a.m., an internal meeting, and booked R-Truth and Brodus Clay to show up and dance in that meeting to try and raise the spirits of people in WWE.
Did it work? What's this?
I mean, it's described as a Kool-Aid meeting, so probably not.
This is the Arara dance. This is the second time Dave has made a Dave-style joke, a reference to
video games,
or whatever the kids do these days. Is he saying
I think that
drinking and partying a lot?
From what I gather, when you read The Observer, that is the line that he keeps getting told now. It's like, oh yeah, people just stay up all night playing video games. And Dave's, they probably were staying up all night playing video games. But Dave, who has been in this industry since the 70s, is like, yeah. I'm sure they're playing video games. I'm sure Ric Flair and Kurt Angle are playing video games. Whereas, like, Jack Swagger probably is just up night playing video games.
Yeah.
Dog. Dean Ambrose and Mick Foley did an angle over the weekend at Fan Access that was filmed for YouTube to make it appear that someone was just filming, and suddenly there was a confrontation. Foley was talking to fans when Ambrose approached him from behind and blamed him for 14-year-olds ruining their lives trying to emulate him, and someone needs to hold him accountable for his actions.
That was this weekend.
It was this weekend.
Oh my God, this was one of the best things I'd seen at the time. It was so real, totally unlike anything else WWE was doing. It was Mick Foley, who I, of course, loved anyways, one of my favorite wrestlers ever. And I'm like, is he going to do another match?
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea, based on the last TNA run he had. But still, I didn't care. And this Dean Ambrose guy, the way he spoke, the cadence, I was like, this promo is utterly absorbing. This is...
Yeah.
Not as good as the pipe bomb, but it's the same kind of promo, blurring those lines of fiction and reality.
It's nuts, isn't it? It never led to anything.
I swear there were reports that it was going to build to some kind
That's what
of
they
match,
wanted to do.
Then they...
I mean, they filmed
NXT.
it. They put it on their YouTube channel. Probably would have been on NXT. They wouldn't have done it on the main roster.
NXT doesn't exist at this point.
Oh, you suppose you're right, yeah.
Legends House?
FCW. Morale is low amongst members of the writing team after most were not invited to the post-WrestleMania party.
They got the dance. They got... What more do they want? They got R-Truth and Brodus Clay dancing.
At a 9 a.m. meeting. The main writers, we're told, were Brian Gewitz, Ed Koskey, and Michael Hayes. But it did hurt a lot of feelings.
Well, I missed out on some video games there, I'm sure.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to talk about some attendance stuff now. But I do think this one is quite funny. WWE announced a sellout crowd of 78,363 fans, claiming it to be the largest crowd in the history of Sun Life Stadium. It should be noted that the 2009 BCS Championship game at the stadium with Florida versus Oklahoma held the record for the stadium with a number that was announced and is still listed as 78,468. WWE claimed to have set a record, even announcing a lower number, claiming they beat the mark of 77,912 for the 2005 BCS Championship game.
It's all part of the show, though, isn't it?
Well, Meltzer's point is that the number they announced of 78,363 is not the real number. It's probably about 10,000 less than that. But they announced a fake number, and it was less than the actual record-breaking number that they were supposed to announce it as.
So I looked into this. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, not through the Wrestling Observer. So Justin Roberts, before the Triple H Undertaker match, which kicks off about half an hour of announcements and entrances, says 78,363 in attendance. And Michael Cole says WWE has set the all-time attendance record for the venue, beating Paul McCartney, U2, Madonna, the World Series, and the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So WrestleNomics have since said the highest paid estimate is 67,933.
Yeah.
So just over 10,000 fewer. And if you go by that number, all 5 of the Super Bowls by that point that have been hosted there would beat that number.
Yeah. It's part of the show, isn't it? Yeah. They announce a number that's bigger. But it's a mad thing to do, isn't it? To just lie and just say, yeah, it was a massive number. We broke all these attendance records. Because really, you're only doing that for yourselves.
Yeah, but the wrestling isn't real.
Because smart people know that it's not.
But no one's going to look into it.
I guess that's the argument, isn't it? WrestleMania 28 was by far the largest grossing event in the 130-year history of pro wrestling. The company announced an $8.9 million gate, claiming it broke the company record, which is true.
That's a B show in Paris these days.
Isn't it? It's insane, isn't it? They did not claim an all-time pro wrestling record, although that was also set by a wide margin. They did claim an all-time entertainment record at the Sun Life Stadium in Miami, breaking a record set by a U2 concert in 2011. The entertainment number is the key because a Super Bowl game in 2010 holds the biggest record for with more than 56 million. So they can't say it's sport, but they can say entertainment because they did beat U2, which did 7.5.
Take that, Bono.
While Vince McMahon in February talked about the show would breaking the 2007 company pay-per-view record of 1.25 million, during the week of the show, the predictions were tempered greatly, with them both publicly and privately listing 1 million worldwide as the goal. The reason expectations have dropped is everyone is unsettled as the major drop in the television audience leading up to Mania this year compared to last, being 25% lower on the go-home show. So, yeah, they wanted 1.25, which was the 2007 one. That's the Donald Trump one. They wanted over $1 million. They got 1.21 million. So they weren't actually that far off.
Yeah, nicely done. So still the Trump one
at this point
in pay-per-view orders.
Yes,
yeah.
but it did over $1 million buys, which is what they did last year, and it's better than what they did for 26. But of course, the big news of this actually came the night after WrestleMania 28, which was the return of Brock Lesnar.
Yes,
People
with
thought
Brock Lesnar guy in the crowd.
Brock Lesnar returned to WWE on the Raw after signing a 1-year contract. Lesnar had been in talks on and off with WWE dating back to at least the summer or fall of 2010, with both sides originally trying to put together a match with The Undertaker for last year's WrestleMania, but then Dana White found out about it and nixed it. While both put on a happy face about it publicly, Lesnar tried to claim there was nothing to it, but there were underlying negatives about it, most notably Lesnar feeling it was cost millions in easy money for doing one pro wrestling match. Since that time, it's widely expected that Lesnar would eventually return to WWE as soon as his UFC career was over, but only in a very limited capacity.
Wow. Well, that is a news story that will change the next decade of WWE.
Pretty much, yeah.
More so than, The Rock coming back. Because Brock is the ultimate part-timer of the part-timer era.
Yeah, he's brought in just for the big shows. There's a period of time, we actually covered it in our Patreon series where he wins the title, and they have shows on the network with they've got one championship and there's no WWE champion on the show anymore. It's mad. Nobody could confirm the price of his deal, though it's said to be the highest annual guaranteed money contract ever given to a WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
Is he worth that kind of money to justify it? He needs to draw big on pay-per-view, sell merchandise, or single-handedly make wrestling cool again. So, like happened with him in UFC, that he was able to elevate the industry, that all seems possible, but none of it is certain. If it doesn't happen, frustration will set in on Vince's side, as it has happened in the past, feeling he got talked into a bad business deal. And the fact is, the more creative the writing, the greater the chance of having it screwing up with the writing. If he works 4 pay-per-view shows in the next year to justify $5 million, that he has to be on average increased pay-per-view buys by 66,000 for each show. Given what we've seen with Punk and Rock, which seemingly caught fire, I have no doubt that he can do that for Mania next year with it being his first match, but that isn't likely to be. Because actually he'll have his first match at the next month's pay-per-view.
Yeah, Extreme Rules, where he loses.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to read that line here. Booking of Lesnar seems almost too easy to screw up.
No.
In the sense that there are obvious singles matches that they should do on pay-per-view with Cena, Undertaker, Rock, and Steve Austin. Cena should go first and lose. Lesnar should win all of his matches leading to Mania, where he should lose unless business is so strong they both decide to extend the program for another year.
Oh, yeah, well, really high on let's just do year-long storylines now.
Yeah.
Of course, John Cena would beat Brock Lesnar in that Extreme Rules match.
Yep.
Totally negating the coming back from adversity storyline that he was meant to have.
I was going to say, because at 29, his whole promo is like, you beating me led to the worst year of my professional wrestling career, which included beating Brock Lesnar in his return match, being the pay-per-view main eventer.
Yeah, over and over again.
Yeah. Winning Money in the Bank. The worst year of my professional wrestling career. Thumbs up for this show, 65%. Thumbs down, 18%. In the middle, 15%, with some point percentage here and there. What do you have as guess is the best match?
Oh, Triple H versus The Undertaker.
Absolutely. Worst match?
Oh, Sheamus Bryan, because it was. I mean, is that a dud?
Is that your guess?
Yep, Sheamus Bryan.
Correct. Sheamus versus Bryan did get the worst match in the Observer poll.
9 seconds long.
Well, it's 18 seconds.
18 seconds long.
Yeah, there's more.
Sorry, I halved it.
I'll get to that in a little bit, actually. So the 28th version of WrestleMania is in the books, with The Rock pinning John Cena in what's promoted ahead of time as the biggest match in wrestling history. To its credit, the show will likely end up the biggest money show in history, destroying the existing gate record for the Marine Life Stadium show in Miami. The show wasn't at the level of the all-time greatest WrestleMania shows in history, but it was a very good WrestleMania just below the top tier. It ended up being a 3-match show, but they were the matches people were most looking forward to, and they all delivered. What do you think the third match was?
Oh, Jericho Punk, right?
Correct.
Which, is a really good match. But it's not like a conclusive match.
No.
It was to set up a match the next month. Oh, man, it's a...
We'll get into it.
Is this... Maybe I'll go thumbs in the middle.
I'd go thumbs in the middle for this show. But that's mostly because I do think that Taker Triple H is so incredibly great that it saves the show from being thumbs down.
Because no Elgin Richards.
Because while I love Punk and Jericho, you're right. And it also has a real stench of, this is not an important match, you guys. A lot of that is due to the crowd. Undertaker coming back for his first match since surgery on his hip and left shoulder was clearly limited in what he could do. He was almost doing the match with one arm, but he and Triple H brought out the tension that got people thinking that Triple H could win, even though just about everyone really knew that he couldn't. The show built to a spot where Shawn Michaels, who'd been an even referee all along, super kicked Undertaker right into a pedigree, but Undertaker still kicked out. The match was built around selling of brutality to the point that Michaels early on wanted to stop the match and save the Undertaker's health, but in the end wanted to stop it to save Triple H. Undertaker won using a tombstone piledriver, with the story that he finally mentally broke Triple H with one chair shot after another, moving to 20-0 at WrestleMania. The closing scene was all three wrestlers holding each other up, going to the back and posing together, with "End of an Era" flashing on the background. The two stole the show with another fantastic match. It was pretty close to the same level as last year, maybe only slightly behind. It won't go down as one of the top 5 matches in Mania history, but it's not far down the list. After a year of build-up and the last several weeks of pushing mainly to try and get to a mixed reaction to make it seem like a split crowd, in the main event, live reports indicated it was about 95% pro-Rock. Not a surprise, given that WrestleMania audience is going to be mostly 75% travelers who, for the most part, hate John Cena, and locals who are from Miami, which is The Rock's home city. On TV, I would have called it 80-20. Still not different from most crowds over the past 6 weeks, but those live said that it was worse than that. The best description of the match actually came before it started. In a video building up the match, Chris Jericho said it would be a great match because it's supposed to be a great match. In a sense, the crowd would make sure it was. Cena was often stiff in his movements, not all that smooth, while Rock got tired bad doing a 30-minute singles match after not doing any major singles matches in something like 9 years. Rock was moving quickly early and very athletic, but Cena and the crowd were carrying things. All three top matches were built around constant kicking out trademark spots, but it worked. The crowd willed Cena vs. Rock into being a good match. In a sense, they took away from CM Punk's WWE title match against Chris Jericho. The crowd was dead for 16 minutes, but did pick up for the last several minutes with the near falls and T submissions.
Wouldn't say Cena carried The Rock. He bear hugged The Rock.
Well, I think that's what Meltzer is kind of saying, is because The Rock gets so tired early doors, Cena has to carry the match. But the only way Cena can carry a match is by going to rest holds.
God.
Then he's got a lot of stuff about the, who should win and stuff, which we've kind of already covered the idea. Were you of the opinion that The Rock should win?
I can't remember. I think I mostly was like, I hate John Cena. I want The Rock to win. I wasn't at a stage where I was trying to think, this is best for business, or this person will be here the most. I just really didn't like John Cena.
Yeah. Brian Alvarez, who was there live for this, said, "I don't know when the decision was made to go with The Rock. Maybe it was a last-minute decision based on the crowd. Maybe they decided a month ago, but tried to get word out that Cena was scheduled to win in order to fool the hardcores, because reports were coming out that Cena was going to win the match. Regardless, from being there live, there is no other finish that would have worked in the building. Maybe the return of Brock Lesnar giving Rock the F5 to lead to Cena getting the pin would have worked, if only because Cena re-debuting after several years running the biggest drawing UFC heavyweight champion in history would have blown the roof off the place. But outside of that, I don't think anything else would have worked, even the return of a guy like Steve Austin. Perhaps long-term, the best finish for business would have been Cena winning. But on Sunday night, April 1st, in Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida, Rock beating Cena with his finisher clean in the middle was pretty much the only finish possible. And that's what I thought 1 year ago, and if WWE thought otherwise and ended up having to make change in plans based on the attempts to get John Cena over to the point it'd be a 50-50 reaction, they should have known better. They made their bets. I had predicted 95-5 reaction in favor of Rock. I think in the end, I was pretty much dead on. I will say that when both men came out, it was approximately 100% pro-Rock. As the match went on...
That was Machine Gun Kelly. He was pro-Cena.
As the match went on, there were, in fact, pockets of people trying to chant for Cena, but when I looked around that building, the thing that amazed me the most was nearly everyone, and The Rock means everyone, was booing John Cena, and that includes little children in front of me and behind me. They were booing John Cena while decked head to toe in John Cena merchandise.
Good kids.
The idea is to kick the Sheamus title reign over big. It was booked to go less than 9 seconds and break the Kane vs. Chavo Guerrero record from 2008 for the shortest title match in Mania history. However, they didn't get it done in time. Michael Cole was still pushing like it was the record. The idea is the crowd would chant 8 seconds at Bryan going forward to get heat. Instead,
it didn't quite work out, did it?
Instead, a percentage of the crowd was furious. And for the next several matches, there were chants for Daniel Bryan. And there were signs all over ringside for Bryan and yes chants before the show started, and the show ended at nightclubs the night and the next night. At TV on Monday and Tuesday, Sheamus was heavily booed and Bryan became a cult favourite. It is certainly not what was expected.
Oh, it was always the plan, though. to get to WrestleMania 30. This is where it starts.
You're absolutely right. The celebrity involvement saw Maria Menounos get out a match with 2 broken ribs and a stress fracture in her foot while in the middle of a heavy Dancing with the Stars training. She went into this match with broken ribs.
Yeah, and Sin Cara stops a match because he's got an injured pinky.
She didn't take any bumps, but she did get the pin for over the women's champion Beth Phoenix in the tag match. The show didn't get anywhere near the level of mainstream coverage as the past years. But the mainstream coverage usually came from celebrities. Rock's return was a bigger news story than last year. Last year also got publicity from Snooki being on the show. Menounos doing the show gave them some publicity on her show extra, but they only covered her match and made no mention of Rock versus Cena. There was a lot of talk late on the internet that Dave Bautista and Brock Lesnar were in town over the weekend.
Can I... This is a slight tangent. I was talking to someone literally this morning in our office building. She's Spanish. And we,
brag.
Make the conversation about wrestling when I run out of things to talk about. Do you like wrestling? We're waiting for someone to arrive. And I was making chit-chat. And she was like, yeah, wrestling's massive in Spain. I was like, oh, is it really? And she said, yeah, like it's always on these 2 channels, boom, boom, boom. And then she went, oh, yeah, and like Jersey Shore? And that was really big. Like, I remember me when I was a kid, like a teenager, I remember the Jersey Shore thing being really big. I was like, oh, like Snooki at WrestleMania 27. She went, no, not Snooki. JWoww?
Oh,
and I went, what? JWoww?
You should have watched TNA.
She did TNA, and she got up the clip, and she went, this clip here. And I said, that's TNA. So bizarre. That one of the deepest cuts you could say to a wrestling fan is, oh, do you remember JWoww in TNA and how that was the better version of Snooki at WrestleMania? And
That's amazing.
Just popped up.
Last note from Observer and Figure Force from Brian Alvarez. At press time, this could change 1 billion times and probably will. The direction they're working towards for next year's WrestleMania is John Cena versus The Undertaker, streak on the line, CM Punk versus Steve Austin, and Rock versus Brock Lesnar, presumably with Rock challenging for the WWE title.
Oh, I prefer that card.
Let's just keep an eye on that, because we'll see where we get to in the next episode. Could it be that's the lineup?
Punk Austin. Oh.
So that is because they were both, like, they kept doing it. Those guys have been teasing this match for so long. And that's like after WrestleMania was over, they were doing back and forth on Twitter to try and set up a match between them for WrestleMania because they both wanted to do it.
One likes beer, one doesn't like beer.
Yeah.
It's the best feud. That could just be the feud.
Right. Are you ready to get into the show itself?
Don't I get my movies?
You're absolutely right. You were looking at me there being like...
Sat through all those observer notes to get to my movies.
You were looking at me like, when do we get to the fireworks factory of the show? But you're actually looking to get the fireworks factory of Oliver Davis. What was the #1 movie at the box office on April 1st, 2012, here in the UK?
Yeah, I'm going to need a clue.
Franchise movie.
That's always the clue.
So it's a franchise movie based on an existing property. And it is the first entry of this. I would say that it was
The Hobbit.
No. It's Christmas, man. I would say that this was a Lionsgate release that was heavily influenced by the success of another franchise based on an existing property that they were like, that's really hot with audiences at the moment. Let's get another type of that.
Luke is talking in the most specialized movie language there. The Mummy? That's not Lionsgate, is it?
Years from now. It's Universal. That's years from now. Tom Cruise.
Lionsgate is like Godzilla.
No, that's
Mask.
Warner Brothers.
Aren't Lionsgate on the front of
No, you're thinking of Legendary.
Legendary?
Yeah.
Lionsgate has not helped me at all.
Okay.
G.I. Joe Retaliation.
No, unfortunately not. It's based on a book. If I go any more specific than that, you will get it.
Franchise first of a... are we doing dystopian young adult fiction again? Uh-oh. It's the first one. Is it? The Maze Runner.
Wrong.
Is it Divergent?
Wrong.
What other ones did they bring out?
I'd say arguably the biggest one of the lot.
Well, Hunger Games.
Yes.
Hunger Games was 2012.
Hunger Games. It's been number one at the box office since March 25th, beating out The Devil Inside, and will remain number one until the following week, where it is replaced by Titanic 3D.
I thought you were making a joke then. Like the sequel, Titanic 2 or Titanic 3.
No, that's then replaced with Battleship
With Rihanna.
for 2 weeks. And then April 29th, what's number one at the UK box office? It's Marvel's Avengers Assemble.
Worked out well for them.
It certainly did, didn't it? So this is... I'm wrong.
Luke just downloaded the memory.
No, I'm actually right. I said something earlier in this show that I didn't realize I was unhappy in my relationship. But it's actually so close to around this time that I realized that I'm not. But I stick it out for another year. And then something else happens that is like the tipping point where I realize, oh, I'm super unhappy.
And it's related to the Hunger Games?
It's related to Avengers Assemble. Because I went to the press screening of Avengers Assemble, just going to brag here, 2 weeks before it came out, which you'd think, oh, wow, you got to see it 2 weeks. I got to see it on my own. I had no one to talk about this film. With 2 weeks, I had to sit there and just think about this movie. And I couldn't talk to it about anyone because I didn't want to spoil it for anyone.
And those embargoes, they're real.
And those embargoes are real. But after I went to that screening, I met up with a friend of mine afterwards, and we went out for a few drinks in Leicester Square. And she's now my wife. And it was the first time we'd seen each other.
What a tale!
It's the first time we'd seen each other in a few years. Yeah. And I suddenly was like, oh, this is what it's like to have a conversation with a member of the opposite sex that you actually get on with. That's a weird thing.
You're meet cute.
I haven't. Well, we'd done each other for a few years before then, but and I was like, I haven't felt like that's a weird feeling to have. I wonder what that means. And then there'll be an event that happens in 2013, early 2013, that really is like the push over the point where I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm actually deeply unhappy in this relationship.
So we know each other by this point.
Yeah, we would have done, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when you became single, and I was like, out on the town, Ollie and Luke. I think I'm in a relationship, but I'm going to be a wingman.
Were you in a relationship at this point?
I would have been from 2013.
Yeah.
Why did you make that noise?
Well, only because I was trying to remember if what the gap was between one of your relationships ending and your current relationship starting.
Like a couple of years. Yeah,
oh, right. I thought there was one. I always thought there was one that was very close by.
No.
Not insinuating anything. It was just I thought there was one.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm wrong on that one. But there was a bit of a crossover point when you and I were both single. Because is this the year when you took me to that pub that's got the most interesting window in London?
It's the Great Wall.
Yeah, he took me to a pub, Ellis, that's got the most. If you look out the window, it's got the most interesting wall in London.
Honestly, if you look out the window, and I actually went there last Monday, and you look out the window, it's like you're looking back in time. It's on Shaftesbury. It's just
a nice looking window.
No.
What you're seeing the window is not important.
It's the view from the window. It's the back of I think the Les Mis Theatre. There's a pub behind that called the White Horse, and it looks onto the stage door, and it's an old cobbled street. It's got like the old lampposts, and it's got the stage door sign, and on it you look out the window, and it's the Blitz. And then some guy would walk in and vomit, and you'd be don't look at him. I always thought it was cool. And I've taken many people. It's an all right pub. It's a Sam Smith's pub. So
Yeah.
not the singer, the brewery.
Oh, that's annoying. I googled Pacific Rim, and it's just giving me the actual Pacific Rim, not the movie.
Are you trying to... Because we saw that and then we sat in Leicester Square.
So, yeah, it's the following year, I think, is when you take me to the pub.
Okay.
Because I remember on that day, I was exchanging Twitter messages with the writer of Pacific Rim, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is really cool." The writer of Pacific Rim, a movie I'm so excited about, is messaging me. But that was the following year we went to that pub. But you and I did know each other at this point.
Yeah, we would have done.
Did we go? Was it Sundance 2012?
Yeah, it might have been then.
Or was it Sundance 2013?
Which took place in the O2.
I think it was Sundance 2013. I think is the one that you and I used to do. We went to a few shows together because we went to that screening of the documentary about gay marriage, and the bill being passed that was allowing gay marriage in certain states in America, and you and I both hugged at the end of it.
Was I into gay marriage before it was cool? Is that what you're saying? Very ahead of our time, progressive.
So ahead of our time.
Politics. I don't remember that movie.
I'm pretty sure that
in the slightest.
That's the one I remember. That and did we go see? Oh yes, we went to go see the horror movie that is a couple in a car.
Yeah, that's very good. I remember that one.
Driving to a hotel where they get lost in like the back roads and stuff. It's a British movie. Yeah. That was the same year. I remember going to see that with you as well. And then I think it was after that screening we went to that pub. You went to that pub.
Well, there you go. There's a very rambling retrospective of our relationship.
As is tradition, Lillian Garcia is out to sing. Oh, I got this wrong on the last episode. I think I said it was America's national anthem, but I think the Star-Spangled Banner is...
Don't correct yourself, Lillian. America, everyone knows, this is fact. You can check it on Wikipedia. They have 5 national anthems.
Well, that's what I've written here.
Those are Star-Spangled Banner, America the Beautiful, Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi.
Yep.
And the Simpsons theme tune.
And...
Which they put lyrics to for Friends, famously.
Of course. I mean, I did write, Lillian sings America the Beautiful, one of the country's themes.
Yeah, it's like, we've all had favourite wrestlers. They don't always keep the same theme. They vary it up.
Well, I'm pretty sure WWE, I think the whole gimmick is that Vince doesn't like America the Beautiful. Oh, no, he doesn't like the Star-Spangled Banner, which is why they sing, I think, the B theme song.
The B-side, yeah.
The B-side with America the Beautiful. But, they have this, and they've got, people out there who don't like Randy Orton carrying flags, and then jets fly over as she kind of hits this note, and they all fly massively loud and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's impressive. And that is America's going to America, and this is top America. It's WrestleMania, it's pro wrestling. They're singing one of the theme songs, and you've got military people, you've got fighter jets, USA, USA.
Yep. Dave Bradshaw was here for this.
Was it? He was in the building?
He was at this show, and he said it was a great show, and he loved the Triple H Taker match. And I was like, did the Hell in a Cell not impede your vision? Because he was right at the back. He's like, no, you're just watching the screens anyway, so it's fine.
Look, he's 7 foot. It's not Dave's view I'm concerned about. It's the 50 people behind him.
And also, because they show this, they've got the big palm trees, over the ring and stuff, for the corners. Apparently, people did complain about their view being blocked, so it had to be moved.
Should we talk about that? Should we talk about the set?
Because it hasn't got a cube this year.
Yep, no cube, which is disappointing because I thought that was going to be a running thing. We've got the WrestleMania screen there.
Yep.
That looks good. I like the font. I like the spread out wide effect. Mm-hmm. You agree? You like it?
Yeah, I think it's right, yeah.
Nice. All of that is undone by the 4 palm trees holding up a pyramid, making it look like a low-rent holiday resort.
It does look a little bit like a holiday resort, doesn't it? Like a swimming pool.
I like, particularly when we get into the high drama of Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker. And there's these Papio Mario. There's these papy mashy. There's papy mashy trees.
See you in NXT.
I think he's in the crowd though, ringside at one point.
Part of the Undertaker's entrance.
Yeah, I think those palm trees look naff.
Yeah, so there were reports that they were blocking people's views, so people on like the corner pieces had to be moved. I mean, same thing happened with Adam Whitney at the first All In. Like he was in a position where the ring was just blocked by a bit of production, and although he did not get moved, and I think he did get moved, but then he got like free tickets for the following year.
Oh, nice. I'll just pay for the flights back over.
Yeah. Well, for All In.
Oh, for All In. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Mania.
No, Adam Whitney. It was All In. His view was blocked, and I said he got free tickets for next year, which were actually readily available. So yeah, Lillian sings the song, and then we get the opening video package narrated by Keith David, who did a lot of like WWE narration over the years.
I didn't know that's who it was. I mean, I don't even know the name.
Keith David. He was in They Live with Roddy Piper.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a famous actor. He's you might know him. You know There's Something About Mary?
Yes.
He's the dad at the start of the movie when Ben Stiller gets his knob caught in his flies.
Yeah, great scene. All time.
Can't
remember the guy.
If I showed you a picture, I think you'd probably know him. But they show photos of Rock and Cena as kids. Basically saying they've got a very similar wrestling journey, which is they were kids who loved wrestling, and then they became the WWE champion in different generations, and now those generations are going to collide.
Do you think that's the most exciting version of this story?
Well, I think that's where this falls apart somewhat, because all the build for this has been, I hate you, John Cena, and I think you're stupid. And The Rock, and then Cena is like, I hate you, Rock. You lied to these fans by saying you were going to come back, and you never did. You abandoned us. But then you get to the actual show, and it's just like, it's me, it's John, it's the fans. And that's the most important thing. And it's a different Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you went to kill this guy.
Yeah.
I've been waiting a whole year for you to beat him up.
Yeah.
But instead, you are, but the occasion. It's once in a lifetime. They even did we'll get onto it, but the video package later on where it's talking heads with wrestlers and wrestling personalities. It is not the feud that you want this to be. It's like they are telling you this is historic. This is historic.
Yeah.
Or at least like the thing that this is emulating, which is The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. That was a blood feud that became historic because of the occasion.
Yes. Yeah, completely agreed. And I think that is the misstep of this, because they had like a half-hour special that they had like the day before that like chronicled their feud. But it was just all the things that are in that ending video package, where it's, Dwayne Johnson just being like, I just wanted to come back and have the most important match that I could for the WWE and for the fans and give them the spectacle. And it's I don't want Dwayne Johnson playing The Rock. I want to see The Rock beating up lame John Cena.
Totally agree. Here is the Windows Movie Maker graphics that we've got here. We do better stuff than this on Canva.
Do you reckon?
Yes, the Bloodline video looks way better than this.
I don't know, Ellis. You do a lot of
our
our editing. Do you reckon that we do a lot of stuff better than this?
Look at that.
It's because you edited that video.
Look at that as a graphic thing. That is so messy. I was...
It does actually look like the old Wrestle Talk News green screen effect we put in.
I was kind of impressed by the previous year's WrestleMania graphics. It was, it was very of its time, but it's the text. Here is the text that we are saying on screen, and it comes in fun angles. It felt clean. This feels graphically horrid. They look a lot older. These look older than the previous year's graphics.
But they also show you Triple H and Undertaker and tell you about how that's an important match for this. But they don't show their pictures of them as kids. But they do let you know these are the two matches you're here for tonight. None of the rest of this matters, which means that one of the 5 people promoted on this show is a regular on this show.
And that's John Cena, the one we don't like.
That's all right. Daniel Bryan's in the first match. He's one of the ones that we like, right? Cole calls this entertainment's greatest live event. Never been to one, but I have been to see Secret Cinema's screening of Back to the Future, which is the greatest live show I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was incredible.
So I've never been to a WrestleMania, but I don't think it's going to be as good as seeing Secret Cinema's presentation of Back to the Future, unless a DeLorean drives around me being chased by a VW camper van. I don't think any WrestleMania is going to be better.
What I also went to that show. It's amazing. But Brian Danielson winning the title at All In, and Zack Sabre Jr. coming out and Nigel McGuinness coming out in All In 2024. I would probably say is better.
Well, I agree, but that is not promoted as entertainment's greatest live events.
Well, it's better than you too. They sold out the stadium. Who are the benchmark that all other entertainment is,
of course,
measured against.
And we have our theme song as well, which is Sometimes I Get a Good Feeling. Yeah.
Flow Rider.
Brian Alvarez would say, I missed the opener because I went to the merchandise store to get Whitney a Santino sock since that's her favourite wrestler. Whitney is Brian Alvarez's wife. They didn't have a single piece of Santino merchandise, which was astonishing since he was a captain in one of the most heavily pushed matches on the show. And the match itself was designed to give him the hot tag and the big comeback. Zack Ryder, meanwhile, the guy who did the job Sunday and Monday and is portrayed as the biggest single geek on the show, had several things of merchandise available. I stayed in line for 30 minutes to not get anything, which sucked. I can report, however, that here, less than an hour before showtime, they'd already got tons of stuff sold out.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's crazy that the Cobra sock, which feels designed to be a bit of merch they wouldn't have on the day.
Sean Rossat was talking about this, about WWE's ability to merchandise things better now than they ever have been. He was like, this regime would not have let Naomi's glow belt not have a toy associated with it, but like the previous regime somehow did not have a toy of that.
Yeah, it's a well-oiled machine. Now, we've gone through the opening video package. We've gone through Lillian Garcia. I just want to show you the opening shots of the crowd. Like, look at all those people there. And we're going to get a shot of someone's sign somewhere. Where is it?
Wait for it.
Do you know the one I mean?
I don't, but there's a guy who's got a John Cena sign.
It's a John Cena one. Oh, you see, this is on the German... this is on the German WWE network. But I watched it on the Netflix version.
Oh, you mean your timings are slightly off?
My timings might be slightly different.
Because then comes... oh, no.
You're going to have to believe me. It says Cena's ass.
There it is, Cena.
There it is. Okay, I'm 5 seconds out from my timestamps. Cena's ass. But what does that mean? Is it John Cena is ass?
That's what I would read it as.
Or is it Cena's ass?
Cena's ass.
You seen that guy?
In the jorts?
What, packing a trunk thing?
He's got some cake on him.
Yeah. So that, I just thought, open for interpretation.
It's great. I'm also going to make sure we're not muting the laptop as well.
Well,
you want some good sounds coming out. You want to hear this crowd reaction.
I don't want to hear the crowd reaction.
But anyway, well, you're going to hear some of them because fans were still filing into the building and therefore missed Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus for the World Heavyweight Championship. And boy howdy, you can already hear the boos for Sheamus as he's coming out. And like the writings on the wall here that what they're about to do is not going to work.
Shameful day. Lobster head. It's a classic Sheamus entrance theme. Still better than anything Tef Rebel's done. And he comes out smiling like he's a baby face. Happens loads on the show.
Great white.
Like, yeah, fella. And everyone's going, boo! There's such a disconnect between what the audience is telling you they want, which included us, and what WWE is giving people. Daniel Bryan comes out with AJ Lee. They had the fun little romance thing that started, I think, December?
Yeah, I guess so, because prior to that was Bryan Danielson being made fun of by the Bellas for being a vegan.
Yeah.
Because this company did not want to push Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, he won in the end, though, didn't he?
I guess you're right.
He's married to one.
That's true, yeah.
So Daniel Bryan turned heel around December time when he cashed in his briefcase on a downed Mark Henry, I believe.
And his whole gimmick was now, I am bigger and better than Mark Henry and The Big Show. And he's become this now arrogant heel.
And and
is mean to AJ.
Yeah, in that time, he's got the relationship with AJ. And he started doing a thing that he saw a MMA fighter do, which I can't remember the name, but It was just the MMA fighter would come in on the UFC fights and just start going, yes, yes, yes. Like they were just doing self-talk to psych themselves up.
Yeah.
And Brian, in his book, says, well, that's annoying. I'll do that.
Yeah.
And he would come down to the ring and he'd chant, yes, yes, yes. And he's been doing it for, I guess, 2 to 3 months now.
I didn't even think it's that. It's like weeks, I think he's been doing this for. It's like it is not long.
And people are doing it in the audience. People do occasionally do a yes thing. But this is the very early stages of the yes chant.
I think this is the show where you can say, this is where it gets over, because it's here. It's the traveling crowd. And like I think you can say that a lot about WWE for the next few years. This WrestleMania crowd almost set the agenda of what's going to be over for the next 12 months, because it's this traveling crowd that get Fandangoing over. Like WWE could not get Fandango over for love nor money. The following night on Raw after Mania, that crowd start Fandangoing. The next thing you know, he's over for the next 3 or 4 months because people are into doing Fandangoing. And it's the same thing with Brian here, is this chant that he's doing is just here to kind of like, it's an annoying character trait. Now it's going to become the thing that defines him for the next 10 plus years until he retires. And it hits this traveling crowd that make it, and it's then the following night on the Raw after Mania doing it even more then. That means that when you get to the next show, everyone's doing it, and they set the agenda. Yeah,
because what happens is you've got a lot of traveling fans for WrestleMania. You can definitely hear them here, but they are a diluted presence.
Yes.
There's going by the official attendance figures, there's 298 billion people in this stadium.
Yeah.
And while there are a lot of traveling fans, they only make up realistically a third. But on the Raw after Mania, they make up like 80%.
Yeah.
And they will take over the show and hijack it. And that's where we got that great era of
Hijack
the
Raw.
Raws after Mania. Well, I say great era. It was like 2 enjoyable ones, and then it actually got quite tiresome.
Got really bad, really tiresome after a while. Where the crowd were like,
are awesome.
I was going to say, then it becomes the crowd being like, so what are we going to do this year?
Let's annoy Randy Orton, which I'm actually behind. But yeah, it's the yes chant the next night, because maybe if what happens in the booking of this match doesn't happen, Daniel Bryan genuinely doesn't get over in the way he does, because the yes chant isn't just a yes chant for Daniel Bryan. It's a protest noise at WWE.
No, I think that's you've misunderstood what the yes chant is, Ollie. The yes chant is a fun thing for fans to do that anyone on the WWE roster can do, and they can have fun with the fans while they do it.
Yes, I know you're being glib, but you delivered that too seriously, and people are going to think you believe that.
That is what. So as we go on with the months, and we'll actually see this when we get to Raw 1000. Over the next few months, WWE are not going to misunderstand yes. They're going to purposefully misunderstand yes. And they would present the argument, Daniel Bryan is not over, yes is over. And you can give yes to anyone, and the crowd will follow along with it. It's not really a Daniel Bryan thing. And so Big Show gets it for a bit. Stephanie has it for a bit. AJ Lee gets it. And so they just pass it on to different people to be like, look, it is just a fun chant that the crowd do. Like now, like if Jey Uso had got over to the degree that he has in an old era and they didn't want him to, they'd have done the same with Yeet. They'd have had CM Punk going out and doing a Yeet. Because it's like, well, I actually want to push him, not this Jey fella.
So what happens here is, and there are a bunch of marks on the opposite the hard cam holding yes signs.
Yeah.
So it is happening. And AJ kisses Daniel Bryan before the match. The bell rings and Bryan turns round right into a brogue kick, and Sheamus wins the World Heavyweight Championship from Daniel Bryan in, as you said, 18 seconds.
Yeah. So to slightly correct you, the bell rings, then they do the kiss. And I think that's where the mistime has come in, because the idea of this was supposed to be 3 seconds. It's actually what they end up going to do. We're going to cover with The Rock beating Eric Rowan to try and have a really quick match. But the bell rings, then they do the kiss spot, then the bro kick, which basically doubles the length of the match. But yeah, it is 18 seconds long. On Raw the following night, they tried to get an 18 seconds chant, because that's why they did this match. But it doesn't take, because this is a crowd that doesn't want to boo the best
favourites.
the best wrestler on the planet, Bryan Danielson. They don't want to boo him. They want to cheer him and do his fun chants. And they want to boo Sheamus because he's boring.
Yeah, we love Sheamus now, but back then, one-dimensional babyface.
Should not have won this year's Royal Rumble. I still think that is a bad decision to have made. I think Jericho should have won that Royal Rumble.
So that's 2 years in a row where the Royal Rumble winner has opened the show.
It's also the second year in a row where the World Heavyweight Championship has opened the show, which really solidifies it as a secondary title.
And, you know, in a couple of months as we're recording this, WrestleMania 41, Jey Uso will open the show for the World Heavyweight Championship again.
Drew and Seth opened the show for the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm not pretending that I'm Nostradamus when I said that this was going to feel like a secondary world title when you introduce a second world title. Mm-hmm. And people told me, no, you're wrong. I'm not Nostradamus. It's just history has shown you cannot have two top world titles and have them feel equal.
Yes.
It's one of them's going to feel secondary. And for the longest time, this World Heavyweight Championship felt so secondary to the point that, you know, in a couple of years' time, they're going to merge it together with the other belt. And like we've only got 2 more years left of this belt in its current guise.
So the initial crowd reaction, I would say, is a pop.
Pop
because it's surprising.
It's a title change.
And they react. But then you start to hear the boos underneath the sort of normie noise. And you can see a few pissed off guys in the crowd.
Yeah.
Like not, oh, you dastardly Sheamus. Like, oh, screw this company. I can't believe they've done this to open WrestleMania.
I remember Vinny V of the Brian and Vinny Show saying that this was one of the matches he was most excited for on the WrestleMania card. So you asked him, like, why are you going? I want to see Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus. And he was furious about this, not just because, you know, Daniel Bryan gets screwed in the match or, you know, gets screwed in his 18 seconds. They don't give you a match.
Yeah.
They just give you a pop.
You can't rate this match. It's technically a dud.
Well, that's it. You know, Dave Meltzer would say, to me, if they wanted to do a 10-second title change, the Show versus Rhodes match was the one to do it in a dud rating. And Brian Alvarez would say, you know the story here. People around me were so pissed off. With that said, we were the hardest of the hardcore, all part of the Figure 4 Observer Empire. And when I looked around the building, tens of thousands of other fans were going nuts for the finish. Unfortunately for WWE, the 18,000 most hardcore of the Mania audience went to Raw the next night and let them have it. -1 star.
-1 star. Usually, sometimes he does a dud thing, but yeah.
Yeah, Meltzer did, but Alvarez didn't. He also adds here, the company wanted to set the record for the shortest world title match in WrestleMania history. Since Jericho and Punk weren't going to go 18 seconds, that meant that Bryan had to drop the belt instantly. Quite frankly, it was infuriating. Bryan was super over all weekend. I attended the Ring of Honor and Dragon Gate USA shows on Friday and Saturday, and all night long, fans were chanting, yes, yes, yes. There were yes chants at Access. There were yes chants when they opened the gates for Mania on Sunday. There were yes chants before the show started. There were even yes chants at random non-wrestling locations around Miami and Fort Lauderdale all weekend, similar to when a big wrestling event's in town and you randomly see people going, woo!
Yes.
Bryan came out to open the show and the building went nuts. Probably 80% cheering Daniel and only 20% cheering Sheamus. And that just means 80% of the building was booing the 2012 Royal Rumble winner. Jim Ross and others had spoken about the opener was actually the best place for either Jericho Punk or Sheamus Bryan because it guaranteed they wouldn't get their time cut if something on the undercard went long and they weren't scheduled for later. So Bryan came out for the match in a brand new robe and everyone was going yes, yes, yes and booing the hell out of Sheamus, and Daniel walked over, gave AJ a kiss for good luck, then he turned into a Sheamus bro kick and pinned him. I won't lie, I was outraged. My first reaction was, well, that'll teach the fans for chanting yes all weekend at indie shows. As it turns out, that finish had actually been in discussion for over a week, long before Ring of Honor and Dragon Gate. So then my next thought was, they want people like me to get mad. That's why they do these things. So I'm not going to get mad. My wife Whitney was sat there with me and asked why, if everyone liked Daniel Bryan so much and were chanting yes all weekend, they beat him in 18 seconds. Try explaining WWE to a normal person. The next night on Raw, all night long, it was yes, 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 yes. They chanted it randomly. They chanted it when anyone asked a question or no question on commentary. They chanted it when someone threw a kick. They chanted it when someone threw a punch. They chanted it when someone they liked did something they liked, and when someone didn't like did something they didn't like, they would chant no. Then suddenly they chanted CCC at Alberto Del Rio. They chanted throughout...
That's yes in Spanish, just in case.
They chanted throughout the
Whenever
show.
anyone's
They chanted during John Cena's segment, and they chanted after the show when, in a 6-man dark match, Sheamus pinned Bryan.
Oh.
Yes, Bryan lost the dark match. They couldn't even change the finish.
You know what would have saved this? John Cena taking a dump. If he was backstage.
How long do you need?
How long do you need? Gets out the newspaper.
I want to go read the review of Hunger Games before I...
Yeah. What more can you say other than there's a little referee door?
Oh.
There's a little referee door.
What?
Yeah. Let's check this out. So you've got to look at the. Oh look. Oh, it's your little referee door.
Where's the little referee door?
Look, down there he
Oh,
is.
there he is.
Oh, your little referee door. There he is. Just under the stage.
Yep. Woo! Up he
Little
goes.
Nate. See you backstage, buddy. Good match.
He's getting ready for his run-in for the...
God.
If you want to see the unblurred version of this, patreon.com/WrestleTalk.
So what we've got here is a crossfade transition between Sheamus celebrating and a printout of John Laurinaitis' face on the T-shirt of one of Team Johnny.
Yeah, it's whoever speaks first.
It's terrifying. It's almost like Sheamus is being haunted by the image of John Laurinaitis in this moment.
So yeah, we cut backstage to Team Johnny of Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Nikki Bella, Jack Swagger, Vicky Guerrero, Mark Henry, and The Miz.
Yeah, this was before WWE invented the WrestleMania Battle Royal, so the best way to get everyone on the card was a multi-man match like this.
The Miz went from the main event, winning the main event of WrestleMania 27, to be backstage with these goobers. And then he's like, I was in the main event. Don't tell people that you've fallen this far down the card.
It's the most mid-card that ever mid-carded.
I don't even think you can say this is mid-card. They would aspire to be mid-carders at this point.
Yeah, but like Dolph Ziggler, he was on the ascent. Miz, definitely a mid-carder. Otunga, Drew McIntyre, not so much at this point, but he made good. But yeah,
Eventually.
But it's not just he was in the main event of Mania last year. He was in the main event of Survivor Series just 4 or 5 months ago.
That's absolutely right.
Wrestling The Rock and John Cena.
And here he is, just a geek backstage with the rest of these other geeks. And to the point where, and I genuinely did feel bad for The Miz in this moment. He brings up, I was in the main event of WrestleMania 27 and I won. And everyone laughs at him.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, no wonder no one got over in this era.
Yeah.
By
it's terrible.
WWE's booking, I should say, because Danielson got over in spite of their booking. So David Otunga walks in, and his new gimmick is he's got massive arms and drinks coffee.
Well, he actually had the coffee character back in November.
Yes,
But yeah, he's innovated by now focusing more on his massive arms.
because he takes a swig of his coffee and flexes his bicep while he does it. That'll get heat, brother.
He is in Rick Rude shape. Like, he is cut.
He is
It's not like
massive.
he's muscly. I think he's operating on about 3% body fat.
Yeah, he's massive.
You can see the veins.
Johnny Ace walks in and says, "This will be an all-timer WrestleMania, just like when Andre ran against Hulk Hogan and Austin wrestled Bret Hart here at WrestleMania."
We should make a WrestleMania bingo card. Nonsensical Andre the Giant reference.
Yep.
Nonsensical this reference.
Yeah.
Gratuitous celebrity cameo.
And if I win, when we win, I will be the general manager of both Raw and SmackDown.
Look, here is a controversial take on John Laurinaitis, and I'm going to say it. Obviously, he has been accused of horrible things in recent years. I'm simply basing this on my opinion of 2012 Ollie watching this. Loved him.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I wrong? That's my truth.
Well, I thought he was just another lame authority figure.
Yeah, but I
In
really
a
liked him.
series of lame authority figures.
I like this authority figure. I really liked his interactions with Punk, and I think I said it on the last show. I really believed that an a new way to do the Stone Cold Mr. McMahon dynamic to update it from pretty unhealthy workplace environment where they're just drinking beer and beating each other up. You go the opposite route. You go overly HR. John Laurinaitis is overly corporate.
Yeah.
And Punk is the complete antithesis for that as, an anti-hero. And it'll be like Punk grating up against the corporate structure. But I never really did that.
Well, I think WWE from 2001, I'm not going to say 2001, I'm going to say from 1999 up until the day that Vince stopped booking WWE, were trying to do Austin McMahon again and never succeeded in doing it. Because the following year in 99, they try and do it with Triple H, but with McMahon as the baby face and Triple H as the heel. And that didn't work. And then, we watched it previously when they were trying to do, in previous WrestleTalk Extras, where Triple H was trying to be like Stone Cold Steve Austin in the mid-2000s, and that wasn't working. They would try it again and again and again and again. This year, in fact, it's going to be John Cena versus John Laurinaitis trying to recapture that Austin McMahon magic.
But they're both corporate.
Well, I know.
John Cena, the corporate stooge, versus Johnny Ace, the back office stooge.
Yeah. Well, that's it, right?
The dynamic doesn't work. That's why I like the Punk thing.
Yes. The Punk one was, it was better. And you got that funny moment where John Laurinaitis takes the GTS and he just goes statue still as he's taking it. So, yeah, they're having a match later on. But before then, we have got poor Randy Orton having nothing for WrestleMania again as he takes on Double Mask Kane.
Double Mask Kane. The variant, yes. He comes out in a mask, and underneath his mask, he's got another mask.
Yeah, this is such a downgrade. Like, I didn't like Uncle Fester Kane. I talked about this on a recent Patreon episode for Worst Attires. I had this version of Kane on my Worst Attires. Quite high up on the list as well. And my argument was, it's such a downgrade from what was already quite a bad outfit with Uncle Fester Kane, which was itself a downgrade of the awesomeness that was 2001 Kane. Yeah. Perfect Kane, best Kane. And then Uncle Fester Kane's no good. And then this one, he's just got fake hair and he's got angry eyebrow marks in his mask. Just looks so naff. His outfit looks naff and he's got little red stitches on it that are printed on. It looks so low rent.
Yeah. It's phoning in Kane. This is a long period where WWE are like, we could put Kane in it.
Yeah, I guess so. And actually, there's a point, I think Meltzer might make this point later on, but it's something that I thought of at the time. When Triple H, Michaels, and Undertaker are having it, it's the end of an era. It's the ending moment of these old guys. Like, well, Kane was wrestling with those guys, and he's still on the show. And Chris Jericho was wrestling with those guys, and he's in a world title match. So
end of an era.
But these guys are still regulars on the show, and they were wrestling with Undertaker. And I saw Undertaker and Triple H main event of WrestleMania together.
Thing is, Kane never gets injured.
No.
He's just, for a big guy, the way he wrestles, never injured. So, doesn't feel like he's breaking down at this point.
No.
Whereas Taker is on life support for most of the year, and then they wheel him out for a WrestleMania.
Let me give you some lame, can't think of anything to say commentary. 1723.
There you go, that's good.
So, get the sound up.
Turn your back on that monster. What a scene. A sea of WWE fans looking on at the WWE's apex predator, Randy Orton.
What a scene. A sea of WWE fans looking at Randy Orton.
No. Looking at WWE's apex predator, Randy Orton. It's written like they write their copy for WWE.com, where it's mostly SEO language. Maybe put the words WWE a few more times in your sentence.
Yeah, but
it's bad.
What a scene. People looking at someone.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it must be WrestleMania.
So the story of this match is Kane wants to destroy Randy Orton.
Yes.
Kane's having a bit of an identity crisis.
So the story is, as far as I can tell, and as far as I can remember, is in the previous summer, they had a match on TV, and at the end of it, after Kane lost, he shook Randy Orton's hand. And now Kane is back. He's mad at that old version of Kane for shaking hands with Randy Orton, so he's going to beat up Randy Orton for it.
WrestleMania.
When the crowd are behind Orton, because despite the fact that, again, when we get to the next episode, there's nothing for Randy Orton to do. He's just part of a bunch of lads versus the Shield. This crowd love Randy Orton.
Yeah, but even then, as soon as the bell rings, yes.
I think it's the after effects of the 18 seconds and people chanting for Daniel Bryan in this match. The same thing will happen in the next match as well, but that's also helped by the fact they like Cody Rhodes, so they're going to chant for him as well. Cole says that Kane has given us lots of WrestleMania moments, and he says he's had matches with The Undertaker and Triple H. And I'm like, well, A, don't mention the bad Undertaker matches. Don't remind people of those. B, I'm sure no one remembers the Triple H match that he has. It's WrestleMania 15.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they have a match there because it's part of like when Triple H is part of the corporation. And it's like, Matt, don't remind people of... It's not remind people of that, it's just no one remembers that. Do you know what magical moments Kane has given us at WrestleMania? Pete Rose.
Oh, yeah. That's the best one.
Those are the main things. But they do this to say, don't worry, Undertaker Triple H is coming up later.
Yeah, I know. We just got to get through about an hour and a half, and then one of the two reasons we're all here we can get to.
Yeah.
So early on in this match, I was like, you know what? For this time period, they're going pretty back and forth. And then, literally as I wrote that, Kane put in a neck crank rest hold. And then people started to chant boring. I thought, I'm just gonna wait till the end of the match before I make assessments now.
I started the same thing. I was like, Randy runs wild, Kane stops him, neck cranks early.
Yeah. Randy's comeback's really good, though, when he gets to it. Draping DDT, RKO attempt, but he gets hit by the big boot. I can appreciate Randy Orton matches a lot more now. I like him.
Me too.
Because back then, I've been so bored.
So
just
bored.
Like, hit the RKO, move on. But yeah, then Kane goes for the flying lariat. Randy counts it with a drop kick. Really good. He's going to do the running punt, but it's reversed into a choke slam. This is a good series of moves. Orton takes a bit too long posing and hearing the voices in his head on the second rope because he was going to go for an avalanche RKO, a second rope RKO. But Kane hit a second rope chokeslam instead. Surely for a near fall, right? He hasn't even hit the RKO. That's the reason to have Randy in a match at WrestleMania. No, that's the finish.
Yeah, Kane beats him.
And they didn't hit the RKO.
But I think that's part of the story, right? Is that they didn't hit the RKO. Because like the story of the match, which I do feel they abandon halfway through, is that every time Randy starts to make a comeback, Kane shuts him down. And the story is Randy can't get any momentum going against Kane. Then he just stopped doing that and Randy just gets loads of momentum against him. But the story is that he can't hit the RKO, and that's what essentially wins Kane the match, is that he managed to avoid being hit by the RKO 3 times.
Did we have a rematch on the following pay-per-view?
That's what I was just going to go and
this
check.
Feels like one of the... Because there's this false belief that WrestleMania is where feuds and stories climax and they move on to the new season post-WrestleMania. But definitely at this time, it was just a show. It was a show usually in the midpoint or the start of a feud. And you're like, this isn't how it's meant to be.
You say that, but like it's, for the part-timers... This is the big spectacle.
Oh, yeah, for the stars.
Yeah, Randy Orton beats Kane in a Falls Count Anywhere match at Extreme Rules.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a theory that finishers were not kicked out of here or the main event or in the next couple of matches. And that is an express direction backstage because Triple H and The Undertaker are going to kick out a loads of finishers.
Yeah, but when those indie geeks do it, they're indie geeks.
Oh, yeah.
I think they do kick out our finishers in the main event, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying before
before
that
the main
match.
event. Do apologize.
Oh, yeah. Like, as long as it's after Triple H, you can do whatever you want.
Go out there, Phil. You want to ruin your finishes? Go right ahead. Dave Meltzer would say, Michael Cole explained the story as Orton beating Kane in a match on SmackDown, Kane shaking Orton's hand, then leaving for months until coming back under a mask. Actually, he missed the injury angle at the hands of Mark Henry that they never followed up on. Lots of Daniel Bryan chants, which took away from the match, was slightly above average and didn't have much heat. Star and 3/4.
Yeah.
And Brian Alvarez would say nobody cared about this match at all. There were Daniel Bryan chants ringing throughout the building. Orton looked like he didn't care, and I can't really blame him. Finish was a chokeslam off the middle rope. I've seen worse. 1 star.
Yeah, it's definitely a motivated Randy Orton.
Yeah, this is a Randy Orton who knows I'm not doing anything big at WrestleMania.
But hey, the sea of WWE people.
They looked at him.
Oh, they looked at him.
They sure looked at him.
They looked at him.
We cut backstage. And Santino is with a guy.
Yeah, it's a captain from the Deadliest Catch.
And Mick Foley is also there.
Yeah, this was a series.
End of an era.
Maybe. Yeah, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. Yeah, quite a lot to do there, right? Mick Foley, Triple H, Cactus Jack, Hell in a Cell. You know, maybe there's something you can do seriously with the guy. No, because Triple H hates Mick Foley for making him a star.
I know, right? Yeah, for actually putting him over and making him feel like a legit guy.
Because Triple H, the thing that eats away at Triple H is that an indie guy was the guy that made him.
Guy from ECW and WCW.
So this is Deadliest Catch. It's a reality TV series that was very in vogue at the time. You had like Ice Road Truckers, Duck Dynasty, stuff that the History Channel suddenly turned itself into.
The partner that I was with around this time that I would find out I was unhappy with, her dad loved Duck Dynasty. He thought that show was awesome.
Yeah, well, it's Dad TV at its most uncreative.
In fairness, I thought Duck Dynasty was, it's entertaining for a handful of episodes.
I don't want to be like the old guy, but when I used to watch the History Channel, when I was a kid at school, it was serious stuff. It was aliens. It was, here's some UFO sightings. Here's some 10 real places they could be. Here's what it is like in another galaxy. And then there'll be a load of Hitler stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Not on the same show. They're not saying
He was
Hitler in space, but oh my God. Could he have been? We're just asking questions. Brand new series commissioned on the History Channel.
Sean Ryder hosted one of those shows, like a UFO chasing show.
Yeah. It's strange how most male groups, regardless of genre, tend to have one UFO nut. Lee from Blue, Sean Ryder from...
one?
Oh my God, he's like one of the main ones.
No.
And what's the main guy who's actually used on this show? Blink-182 singer.
Tom DeLonge?
Yes, Tom DeLonge. Huge alien
That
guy.
makes sense. That tracks.
He funds conferences.
Really?
He's massively into the UFO space. Look, guilty pleasure. I will happily listen and watch anything to do with UFOs.
It's one of my favourite Louis Theroux Weird Weekend episodes when he hangs out with UFO chasers.
Yeah, but that's sort of a meta look at them. I'm like, yeah, but no, tell me about the possibilities.
No, I want Louis Theroux having a chat with a guy who gets taken over by an alien for a bit.
I did a guided breathwork session on Monday evening, and at the back of a Muay Thai gym.
Just give yourself some helpful tips on how to breathe.
And I, at the start...
Because we all struggle with Alice. We all struggle with
well,
it.
actually, you're being glib, but you'd be surprised. We all stood up to start it, and she was like, just shake out the day. Just shake out the day. And, you just there like that. And I opened my eyes, and I just looked at the 4 other people in this empty room, and they're all doing that. And I thought, I'm Louis Theroux. I'm just Louis Theroux. Just get through this.
I'm Louis Theroux.
I'm in the situation now.
The situation was there.
And I was in him. Sorry. So coming back to Deadliest Catch, Mick Foley's there. He's doing a pirate sailor voice. They've all got crab legs on plates in front of them. And it's just a really awkwardly fudged in promo spot for the Deadliest Catch series, which starts on Tuesday, which is a couple of days away, on the Discovery Network.
And then Ron Simmons walks in and says, damn.
Yeah, I just want to... This is so low effort. First off, Santino and Foley are wearing the same coat, as in like Santino's got the main coat and Foley's just got the little hat on.
Yes. Oh yeah. They bought one costume.
They bought one costume.
Yeah.
I don't think Foley was ever in this sketch until they saw him backstage.
Yeah.
Let's bury that guy. Santino has the joke. Did you know Discovery wanted me to be on the season premiere of Deadliest Catch at Tuesday at 10? But they haven't yet discovered me. So the joke is that
Go on.
the network station Discovery hasn't yet discovered Santino.
As a wrestler?
As a personality, I guess. Even though the setup of the joke is that they wanted him to be on the show. Whatever it is, it doesn't even function as wordplay.
No.
Because the Discovery Network... it's so Vince McMahon.
Is the joke not that they have not discovered what breed of cobra he has on his arm?
It's about fish.
Yes.
Similar shapes, though.
Yeah.
Fish and snakes.
Yeah, that's what they always say, don't they? They're so alike.
Bit cylindrical.
I think it's a cobra thing. I think you're barking up the wrong fish tree.
The captain tells Foley nobody actually talks like a pirate. They don't know how to get into crab legs. And Santino gets his cobra. Foley gets his sock, Mr. Socko, and they both start stabbing the crab's legs with their hands. And that's when Farouk walks in and says, damn. And they are very lucky at this time period to have Farouk because they don't have to write an actual punchline to any awful skit they do.
They have the punchline
because Farouk just walks in and goes, well, this is crap, isn't it? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Moving on.
Yep. And then you come back to Michael Conjo a little bit. Only in the WWE. It must be WrestleMania.
Well, it actually cuts back to them thanking all the men and women in uniform for everything they do for the country.
Yeah.
Show some soldiers on the crowd.
But not you, Randy Orton.
And not you, Randy Orton. You left us!
You deserted us.
So we used to have sort of these days before school started in the term.
Good weekends.
No, it's like, I think like before sixth form, we all went on a sort of orienteering day or whatever, but it wasn't, we knew this, we went to that school already. And they got military personnel to sort of take us round things. I didn't like, we were in a field, I can't remember. I was like, here's what we do in the military. It's probably some weird recruitment scheme. And this guy, kind of nice, and he's just talking to us, and he says, well, I know what you're thinking, do women like men in uniform? Or do it, because it's like, back then that was a classic joke. Mm-hmm. And then Mario, my friend, just yelled out, what about out of uniform? Do you like men out of uniform? And it was so inappropriate. And then the guy just went, who said that? And it turned into one of the most awkward 5 minutes of my life.
No.
And he was just like, why would you say that? In front of like 30 people.
Why would you say that? Because he's like 16 years old. And that's just what you said when you were 16 years old.
Anyway, sorry, that just reminded me of that. Cody Rhodes versus Big Show.
Good. One thing it's about Triple H, not really liking the fact that Foley had to make him a bit of a main event level guy. Because he was not getting over as a main event guy, not even with Vince McMahon, until Mick Foley put him over in January of 2000. He also claims in the DX autobiography that Steve Austin was number 1 in 1998, but DX were 1A.
Whatever you got to tell yourself, Paul.
Right, yeah, we were definitely 1A, I would say.
It's back to the yellow pages, isn't it?
But yeah, it's Cody Rhodes versus The Big Show for the Intercontinental Championship. This is the best video package probably in the history of any WrestleMania. It's my way and then it's this. That is 1, this is 1A. It's just all of Big Show's bad WrestleMania moments. Like, and he's like slipping around. He's got facing off against Akibono, and then every now and again, WrestleMania, baby, woo!
Yeah, the year that he wasn't even on WrestleMania, he was at WWF New York, the restaurant, hanging out with kids.
WrestleMania, baby, woo!
And yeah, do you want to do the Cody bit?
Well, so it turns out I've misremembered this all these years.
No way.
Because we've talked about this in so many videos that Pete tried to find it and he could not find that moment. I don't know if I've misremembered it or if I've ever made it up. But it just comes back and he goes, ha, 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 ha. He doesn't go, ha, ha, woo.
Oh, no
Which
way.
I always thought he did.
Maybe they edited it off the network. Maybe. Yeah. So yeah, the basic story of this is Cody's the Intercontinental Champion. Big Show's going to have a match against him. And Cody's like, but your WrestleMania record, it's like that anti-Undertaker streak. You don't just lose at WrestleMania. You have really bad gimmick matches.
Yeah. And
that's it.
I think it's good. I think it's a really good story. Like Big Show, the world's largest athlete, is a choke artist at WrestleMania. That's like I think a genuinely good story as well. Like he was arrested at WrestleMania 15 because he tried to kill Mick Foley with that back body drop. But like there's something about the presentation of Big Show, Beanie Big Show, like giving his beanie to little kids and stuff. And his Titantron says, "Go big or get lost."
Yeah, and this is kind of mirrored in the Cena Rock match. Big Show, I would say, should be annoyed with Cody Rhodes. Cody's been saying, you're rubbish at WrestleMania. You're a joke at WrestleMania. So what does Big Show do when he walks out? He's smiling. He's high-fiving people. He's the most babyface of babyfaces. Like, no, how am I meant to believe in the story of this match? This is like it's nothing to you.
Yeah. And
Cody hasn't got under your skin at all, so why should I care?
I was going to say he should be more angry about this and to prove. And like I think Alvarez made the right point earlier, or it might have been Meltzer made the right point earlier. This should have been the 18-second match. Just walks in, WMD, knockout punch, and he pins him, and that's his big WrestleMania moment. Because this is a Zack Ryder WrestleMania moment in that, well, you won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, but you're not going to be champion for very long. Because he only has it for like 3 weeks. Then he loses it. And then the next time we're going to see him, which is in July at Raw 1000, he's a heel. And,
Well,
and
is.
all of this has been dropped.
The match itself, Cody outsmarts Show early. I think Cody always lays out his matches really well, and it's really interesting to go back and watch a couple of his Mania performances. You put a lot of thought into how you tell the story through the physicality. So it's Cody's got to use his size and his quickness and his smarts. He's trying to chop down the Big Show size advantage, but then the Big Show chucks him across the ring. He's stronger. Daniel Bryan chants startup. Show does the stink face at one point, but with no movement.
Yeah, just puts his ass in his face. Cena's ass.
Cena's ass just sits on his face.
Yeah, which is probably
There's no twerking.
pretty more painful.
Yeah.
Also, he doesn't want to ruin Marina Menounos' spot in the next
course.
match.
Cody is targeting Show's legs. Cody goes up to the top rope, and Show grabs him by the throat. But then Cody jumps backwards out the ring, jamming Show's arm on the top rope. And I'm like, that's good. You're picking apart the body parts.
Yeah.
But then Cody tries a disaster kick one too many times. Show spears him out of midair,
Well,
which is actually great.
yeah, I mean, poor old Cody's Nas, though.
Let's just get a little look at this spear that he does.
Going for the disaster kick.
There's the first disaster kick, but he goes to the well one too many times.
I don't think there's any. Maybe.
Over here.
Cody Rhodes going for the disaster kick.
Oh! I didn't know he dick slammed him.
Absolutely Dixon.
Cody Rhodes going for the disaster kick.
That is a shoulder into the balls.
It's like a low blow spear.
Yeah. How did the referee not intervene there? But yeah, after that, Big Show hits one WMD punch to win. And Big Show seemingly can cry on command. He does it a lot.
Yeah.
Cries, holds up the IC belt. He's the new champion. Kisses his partner at ringside. Lots of emotion there, which I don't buy because he was smiling on the way down to the ring.
Well, he knew he was going to win.
And that's what I mean by like this kind of feels like an 80s WrestleMania. No, well, we're just big stars. We're just happy to be here. When I say big stars, I mean cartoony stars.
Also, another guy that was wrestling with Undertaker and Triple H in the Attitude Era. Dave Meltzer gave it a 1.5 stars.
Yeah.
And Brian Alvarez said the next night on Raw, after the dark match ended, Big Show left the ring and apparently forgot he was the champion because he left his belt. 2 stars. Yeah. But enough of that shit. Jerry the King Lawler wants to talk about beautiful divas.
Because this is a genuine quote, what would WrestleMania be without beautiful divas?
And then we get a video package for the divas, which is just, isn't it awesome being a diva? I don't think this is bad branding for us at all. It actually empowers us when you think about it. Maybe you're sexist.
Yeah, we get to go on red carpets. We get to do photo shoots. That's what we want to do. That's why we became divas, not actual wrestling. It's like they've gone out of their way to not present them as wrestlers.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are. They're divas.
They're divas. They're the WWE divas.
And remember, this is 2012. This isn't the noughties. This isn't the 90s. This is WWE about 2 years before the 4 horsewomen get really good in NXT.
There's always been this like narrative that the Attitude Era was bad for women, and it was. It was really, really bad. I think the mid-2000s is so much worse for the representation of women in WWE than it was in the Attitude Era, because in the Attitude Era, that was a product of its time where every form of entertainment was doing that. 2006, and actually this also is part of, lots of forms of media not realizing that times are moving on, but are being like, but you liked this 10 years ago, right? We're just going to do it again. Yeah, you like it when we say this about women, right? At this point here, I think it's well past its sell-by date. And this WWE Divas thing where they're just like, look, it's fine that we call them divas. Stop complaining about it online, on Twitter.
Yes, this is...
They like it all right.
This is Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres versus Kelly Kelly and Maria Menounos.
So the last time we saw Eve and Beth, they were feuding at Survivor Series.
Wait a sec.
Yeah, I know what you're about to realize, because I came to this realization during the show as well.
Because this isn't our only section with Eve Torres in.
No, it's not.
She's a heel here.
Uh-huh.
She's on the babyface SmackDown team later on.
But yeah, is she a babyface, though?
Certainly not by the end.
Is Zack Ryder just a big old dick that doesn't realize that his girlfriend's mean to him?
I guess that's what it is. I guess Zack Ryder is... is this what made you realize?
This is the moment.
It's the Zack Ryder Eve Torres romance.
It's not that, I'm afraid. But yeah, so they come out and like they barely finish their entrance before Kelly comes out to point at nothing.
Kelly.
And King's like, man, don't Kelly and Maria just look great?
Look, this is better than what Jerry wants to be saying, which is just going, tits!
Dude, he has that because 47 minutes into this, 47 minutes 10 I've got it down as, Michael Cole wants to talk about,
Two former Divas champions.
The celebrity attraction that they're getting.
Matchup's been talked about really all over the world this week. The celebrity blogger Perez Hilton at fitperez.com.
Perez Hilton, very
all the
2012.
Divas movements here at WrestleMania week in Miami.
I should have had that job.
You would have loved that.
I would love to follow Divas movement.
So Perez Hilton has been following the Divas movements all weekend. King said, I'd like that job. I'm always following the Divas movements.
Yeah, just sometimes follow them back to their house. Sit in my car outside their apartment. They don't know I'm there.
Yeah. But they like it all right. They're divas. They get to walk red carpets.
Yeah, it's what they want. It's part of being a diva.
So yeah, they say that Eve has had a change of character as of late because they were feuding at Survivor Series. Crowd chant for Cody. I actually wrote, I didn't make this, but during that last match, I've written in my notes here, the crowd chant for Cody, that's the 3rd straight show where I've made that note. In our series.
Yeah.
And then I've written here, crowd chant for Cody. That's the 4th time I've made that note in 3 shows.
And Daniel Bryan. Lots of Daniel Bryan chants.
Yep. But the biggest thing that this match is remembered for is that Maria Menounos does a stink face. And because she is wearing white trousers and Eve Torres is wearing a lot of makeup, Maria Menounos has this brown stain on her ass, and it looks like she shit herself. She looks like Sid from WrestleMania 13.
Oh, fantastic. I didn't even pick up on that. I was too sort of cringed out by Lawler calling it a sweet face. Okay, so she's just done the stink face there.
There it is.
Oh, yeah,
Next
there's a
trip
little
on
bit of
Dancing
poop.
with the Stars this season. Hey, wait, look at this.
Yeah, she got a bum.
That's
And that... Well, it's not uncommon for wrestlers to poop their pants in a match. You're traveling around a lot. You're eating in service stations.
They just never talk about this as one of the great magical WrestleMania moments when Sid shit himself in the main event of WrestleMania 13. What an homage this is to that great moment. So anyway, what else happens in this match? Maria tags in. They do the yes chant. Rest holds will get them back into this match. Eve twerks. Maria boots her out of the ring. Kelly gets the hot tag. She runs the rope, and it is hilariously bad. Kelly go round, but Eve breaks it up. Kelly reverses the glam slam into a bulldog. Maria tags back in and is slow to move. She goes up top. Beth attacks her. Kelly makes the save. Eve and Beth collide. Maria rolls up Beth for the win. Not very good.
No, not very good. And it's a shame because Beth Phoenix, obviously, great wrestler in the wrong time period. There are a few things less hype than a Kelly hot tag. Because you really need to run the ropes to get that momentum.
I know. It's so funny watching her run the ropes, though. Dave Meltzer would say, lots more Daniel Bryan chants. Not very good. Even injured, Menounos looked fine in there. Kelly did a mistimed handspring elbow spot, but her other stuff didn't look too bad, aside from her coming off the ropes, which is brutally bad. Phoenix grabbed her off the top rope and held her in a press slam position overhead. However, with her ribs, she didn't dare drop her. Instead, Kelly pulled her down, and the two of them knocked Phoenix into Torres, and Maria pinned Phoenix with a schoolgirl. 1/4 star.
Yeah, well, who's there the rest of the year? It's Beth Phoenix. And she was pinned by Maria Menounos with a pooey butthole.
And Brian Albert would say, this was fine, although thousands and thousands and thousands of people left during it to go to the bathroom. I'm not kidding. It was hilarious. Those that stayed mostly chanted for Daniel Bryan. 1.5 stars.
That's probably why it sounds louder. Because it's distilled down to the hardcores.
Backstage, Matt Stryker is with Shawn Michaels, who says, either this will be the end of the streak or it'll be the end of the game. And if Triple H does this, it's something that I couldn't do. But I have the power in my hands to end this era.
It's really good.
I love it.
Yeah, and it's because when he says the thing about Triple H could do what I couldn't do, you could read it either way, the way he delivers it. It's like, oh yeah, Triple H could finally beat this guy I've always wanted to beat. Yes. Or Triple H would do the... How do I feel about that?
It's my favorite thing about Shawn being the special guest referee of this match. I think it is a genius addition to this match, Shawn being the special guest referee, because he is the guy that was desperate to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, to the point he put his career on the line. The thing he loves the most, he put it on the line because he just had to get that shot at The Undertaker, and he couldn't do it. And now he's staring down the barrel of his best friend might do the one thing he couldn't do. But Triple H there being like, yeah, but we're best friends. Don't you want me to be the guy that ends the streak? I just think it's so great.
It's a great story.
Yeah, it's so good.
And it's a great main event of night 1 of WrestleMania 28.
So we have Justin Roberts doing the attendance thing, which we broke down earlier, and Jim Ross, goatee Jim Ross, comes out for commentary, and Michael Cole, after what he said last year, said, it wouldn't be WrestleMania without Jim Ross in the least enthusiastic way possible.
Yeah, and he's like, when JR comes over, he shakes his hand. He's like, well, welcome aboard. I suppose it's Cole's character that he's not fully, like he's no longer a heel, thank God, but he's got some professional jealousy with JR.
Yeah, this is not like, because if this was last year, Cole, it would have been like, well, it wouldn't be WrestleMania. But this now it's just like, well, it wouldn't be WrestleMania without good old JR doing commentary.
Lawler puts him over a lot, says, hey, he's lost weight. Looks like he's hero John Wayne in a movie.
Yeah.
So this is the, like I said, the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania 28. There are about 20 minutes of entrances and pomp and circumstance. JR gets the entrance. Shawn Michaels comes out next. There is no video package.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For such an amazing story and a recap of all the bits we had in the great match the previous year.
Particularly because Triple H has got... Are you sure there's no video package for this?
There's no video package.
Oh, you're right. But it's such a good story because I thought there was. Because I've got like such vivid memories of like Triple H making that point of just like last year, only one of us left that ring. Because Undertaker's like, I beat you. It's like only one of us walked out of that ring and it wasn't you,
Yeah.
it was me. I know that I can beat you and I can end the streak.
Yeah. No video package. I mean, maybe that's a testament to how well the story's told.
Sure. Maybe it's off. Maybe it's not on the Netflix one.
Yeah, maybe it has no.
It Shawn makes his
It's
entrance?
Shawn's entrance there. I suppose
And
if
then Triple H
then
makes
Triple
his
H, then Undertaker,
Oh, you're right.
then the Cell gets an entrance.
To The Memory Remains by Metallica.
Yeah.
That's so weird. There's a... sorry. All right. Off the bat. This match is awesome. This match is so, so great.
We're not going to talk about Triple H's King of Kings door.
Please go ahead.
Well, his entrance is that he gets a little door. Let me find him on the entrance here. And look, he's got a door.
He comes out essentially of a naff Castle Grayskull.
Yeah, bless him.
He thinks he's well cool.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
He's like, yep, everyone is here to see me have my match, not that main event. If John Cena and The Rock are 1, then we are 1A. Although, in fairness, he's probably right on that one.
But yeah, even the Hell in a Cell gets an entrance. Yeah, like you said, the Metallica voice. But it feels so different from everything else on the show. This feels like, oh, okay, this is WrestleMania.
This feels like they're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And like again, that's the problem with Part-Time Mania is that no one else is given this level of shine. But WWE is also a company that wouldn't want to give anyone else this level of shine because they don't think anyone else is deserving of this level of shine. They think that only people like Triple H and The Undertaker and The Rock and John Cena should get all of this pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. And it does, really hinder the rest of the roster. Undertaker's entrance was fascinating because we have not seen him since he was stretchered off at the end of last year's match. So if we just recap, the story of last year's match was that Undertaker is a mythical figure, but then Triple H, through the course of the match, shows that he is just a man.
Broke him down.
He's going to beat him when Undertaker kicks out and proves he is the dead man. Undertaker taps out Triple H in the Hell's Gate, but then actually that was all he had. And Undertaker couldn't even walk out. He had to be stretchered out. And then we do not see him for a year. For the whole build to this match, not on TV or anything, this entrance is the first time we see him. And he steps forward, he unveils the head, and he's got the mohawk.
He's shaved all his hair off. And like they even tell the stories like he felt like he had to do it because he needed to prove he wasn't deserving of that Undertaker look anymore. He had to reinvent the dead man in order to overcome Triple H because he got lucky in the first one.
Yeah, and then when he reveals the shaved head, and I remember watching it at the time, I was like, oh my God, and the crowd gasp. But that's not all.
Yep, he got sound, yep.
They're staring at each other.
Here comes the hood reveal.
Could have done without the sound effect.
Sounds like trapdoor's about to start. Don't you open that trapdoor.
I guess it's because in my head, I'm thinking about Taker telling the production guy to cue up that sound at that moment.
When I take off the hood, I want you to play this sound effect. It's lightning.mp3. Is that one there? Don't play lightning 2.
And then the guy's like, but lightning doesn't make sound. That's the thunder. Just do it. Okay.
Don't be a smart ass. Also, I've got you my Metallica CD, track 7.
Yeah, could have done without the goofy thunder. But Triple H, who has been very confident because last time he saw this guy, he was being stretched out. Now Triple H has a bit of doubt in him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, much like Undertaker has not been around for TV, Jerry's not been watching TV. And so, like, at the start of this match, drops an absolute clanger of getting the story wrong.
So it does the game. So Undertaker has a amazing threshold of pain. And on the outside, legal. Any actions on the outside. Remember, no disqualifications, no countouts. You got to be careful what you wish for. Triple H was absolutely upset to have this match with The Undertaker. You mean the Undertaker was obsessed to have this matchup with Triple H? That's one of the reasons that he cut his hair each and every day. That's what I said, Cole. He couldn't.
That's what I said.
Oh, Jerry.
The beat. And he's like, I think you mean. Although, in fairness to King, Triple H did want this match.
Yeah. Can I take you through some stats for these entrances?
Please do.
So, 13 minutes of that with JR, Shawn, Triple H, Taker, and the Cell. 13 minutes of entrances.
That feels short. That feels remarkably short. That's like one Jey Uso entrance now.
Yeah, but then if you think about it, that's 5% of the length of the entire show. So 5% of the entire show is entrances for this match.
Yeah. I guess so. The stat for this really is this comes an hour into the show, and the next hour of this show is dedicated to this one match.
Also, I don't know why I did this. 4 minutes 6 seconds for Taker's entrance, which is up 19% year on year. It was 3 minutes 26 seconds the previous year, and I think that's because Taker got an entrance, and then Taker's head got its own entrance.
Again, that feels so short. I'm pretty sure it's WrestleMania 24, the one where Ric Flair
Really
retires.
long, yeah.
I went and I made a cup of tea and I made a bowl of Weetabix in the time it took. And I'm pretty sure I finished the bowl of Weetabix in the time that it took for Undertaker to finish his entrance.
You're a fast eater.
Yeah, wolf it down.
But yeah, of the 24 Hell in a Cell matches in history, Triple H and The Undertaker have been in 19 of them.
The other fact I love about this is that Triple H has never lost a match where Shawn Michaels was the special guest referee.
Oh, that's good.
It's a really good stat to drop in there.
And that's, all of this stuff, these are the things that WWE would never do. They'd never lean into their own records because they didn't keep track of them for stuff that didn't matter. So having all this historical context and the data really, really makes this feel stand out.
Do you want a nice little Undertaker weird sound?
Oh, yes, please.
Again will be made twofold. Undertaker dictating this pace.
That's the other MP3.
Bliat.mp3. Bliat!
So the story of this match, again, is now finding out who's tougher, who can take the longest beating. Sorry, that was the first match. This match starts off with the same intensity, but now, of course, with the Hell in a Cell in there too. And it's mostly Undertaker getting the better of Triple H,
Yeah,
which
dominates
flips what happened last year, which was Triple H getting the better of Taker. And then, like, in this, Shawn is trying to check on his friend, but Taker pushes Shawn away, and the crowd go, ooh, because it's great storytelling.
Yeah, it's
Shawn,
so good.
Shawn, you can feel him wanting to be impartial.
Yes, and Shawn is such an integral part to the brilliance of this match, and he's, it's Shawn Michaels overselling. It is like dramatizing your actions so that everyone in the back can pick up on what you're doing. But man, it adds so much to this match. And like when Triple H is like hits that desperation DDT because he's just trying to just create some separation between him and Taker, goes for the pedigree on the steps, but Taker backdrops him. So the only thing that Triple H has got left is to give him that spine buster onto the steps, and oh man! And immediately Taker locks in the Hell's Gate.
Yeah, he can't get on top of Taker.
Yeah,
which is again a really good story. as the sequel to what happened in the first match.
So now, what does Triple H do? Gets the chair. I can't out-wrestle him. Wrestling moves aren't hurting him. I've got to get the steel chair. And then he just starts to dismantle him with this chair. And that is where Shawn Michaels starts to go to Triple H to be like, look, man, ease off, all right? Like, you don't need to go this far. And Triple H is, pushing him aside. And he just keeps yelling at Shawn Michaels, end it. You have the power to end this.
Yeah, not even taking a pin or anything like that. And Shawn's like, he ain't going to quit.
End it or I will.
Shawn's like, well, then cover him.
Yeah.
And Trips pulls Shawn to the ground, and Triple H is screaming at Taker to stay down. It's really, really emotional stuff.
Yeah.
Really dramatic.
And it's great as well, like this portion of the match here, because the match of Taker and Michaels is Taker begging Shawn Michaels to stay down and stop. You need to give this up. You've not won this match. And then the following year, it was Triple H doing that to Taker to be like, stop. I've beaten you. You need to give up now. Here, it's so early on. I don't think Triple H really is convinced that Undertaker will stop, but he's just like, he's trying to convince Shawn, you need to stop this match. I've got him beat. You need to stop this. And that's the way to end this streak.
I agree. I think Triple H knows he can't beat Taker, so he's trying to manipulate Shawn into calling the match in his favor. But even the chair isn't working, so Triple H tries to kill him. He goes and gets a sledgehammer and uses it the way sledgehammers are intended.
Yep.
Not with your hand over the end. Taker's on the ground. His head is right there. And Triple H is going to swing the sledgehammer down onto Undertaker's head.
Like a watermelon, it would have exploded. Shawn grabs the sledgehammer out of his hands. Shawn Michaels stops Triple H from murdering Undertaker.
Do you think that was too far? Because it didn't take me out of anything.
Not at all. No, it wouldn't have taken me. It didn't take me out of this. Because then Shawn Michaels thinks about ending the match. Like, he has this moment where it's like, maybe Hunter's right. I'm going to call this to an end. So Taker gets Shawn Michaels in the Hell's Gate, and Shawn flounders to get out of this match. It's so awesome. And then Triple H drops the sledgehammer down onto Taker to break it up. It's so good.
Well, it's because Taker doesn't know who it is. He's just like, there's someone near me.
Yeah.
I'm going to get them in the Hell's Gate.
Oh, because
that's what I took it as.
I read it as he was stopping Shawn from ending the match.
It could be that as well. It could be that. I thought Taker looked so beat up at this point. I felt like he would just lash out at anyone.
Maybe you're right, yeah. Because Cole says, like, Triple H had to do that to protect his friend. And then he locks in the Hell's Gate on Triple H, and they repeat the finish of last year where Triple H is trying to grab at the sledgehammer, which I think is a brilliant false finish. But, because Triple H is out. The match is over. Taker has won, but there's no referee here. So out comes Little Nate. And he runs down, and the crowd boo Little Nate getting into the ring.
Coming out of his little door.
Because they don't want it to be Little Nate. They want it to be Shawn Michaels here. And we get a choke slam, and Triple H kicks out. So Taker grabs Little Nate and choke slams him. I don't want you, little man.
It's the tiniest choke slam. He never passes waist height.
Yeah.
With the bit before then, that visual pin, not visual pin, but visual win for Taker when Triple H passes out. I remember thinking at the time, oh my God, they've done the visual pin for Taker because Triple H could beat him.
Yep, that's exactly it, right?
So it's good. It's very well booked.
Really, really
Keeps
good.
you guessing.
Because what happens after that? One of my favorite near falls of all time. Like that's what I love about this. It's the false finish. It's the kick out. You as an audience are like, well, this is it then. They've done the false finish. You then have the sweet chin music into the pedigree. 1, 2, kick out. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, because Shawn is revived now, but he's pissed off at Taker. He lashes out. This is not a pre-planned thing. He's just like, you just did that to me. Boom, super kick.
Yeah, I guess it's not pre-planned. It's revenge because he then dives into that counter to be like, let's end this. I've got the power now to end this era.
When Shawn leaps to do the count, you can hear the crowd go, no! Like everyone's so invested.
Because these two dicks are about to ruin the streak.
Great kick out there.
It's so good.
And then as soon as the kick out happens, Shawn just crumples into the corner because he knows he's gone against his morals.
That
He wasn't impartial, and he helped his friend.
He helped his friend, and it didn't work. There is nothing they can do to end this streak. DX cannot stop this guy, and they've tried. They've just hit the best that they've got to throw, and it did not work. And Triple H grabs Shawn Michaels and throws him out of the ring.
And it gets a "This is awesome" chant, and you know what it doesn't get? A yes chant.
Yeah.
Doesn't get a Cody Rhodes chant, because this is over.
This is it absolutely is, and that's testament and proof that yes is not the chant that's over. Daniel Bryan doing the chant is over, and this crowd are so into this. We get a tombstone, Triple H kicks out, and then we just get into this slugfest between the two of them. I think at this point here, the match does get a little bit into big move, kick out, big move, kick out, because it's pedigree. Taker kicks out again. Triple H gets the hammer. Taker has the chair. Taker stops the hammer and he twats Triple H with a chair. And Shawn Michaels can barely look at this. Triple H kicks out again. I think at this point here, I think we've had one too many kickouts at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I prefer the first match.
It is why I've come around to think that this is actually not as good, because it's awesome, but I actually do prefer the first match, and I never had that opinion until doing this series.
Sorry, second match, but we all know what we mean.
Yeah.
Last year's match.
Yeah. So the story this time around is that it's Triple H who won't die. Taker's there like, stay down, but Triple H keeps kicking out, and there's nothing in Triple H's tank, so he stands up and he does the crotch chop. Triple H hits him with a sledgehammer, the most powerful thing in WWE, hits the tombstone. Shawn Michaels counts the pin. Amazing match.
Yeah.
So good.
And then just as they had 13 minutes to set this match up with the entrances, they take a long time in the post-match, deservedly slow. They just panting on the mat. Both of them are destroyed. Taker's back is bruised by all the chair shots, and Shawn helps up Taker, and they hug. Taker's arm gets raised, and they'll never be in the same place at the same time ever again. They never wrestled. Never wrestled after that.
Do you know what the dumb thing is? I mean, he was at his Hall of Fame thing, though, right? When they had that Survivor Series in the pandemic. But you're, of course, talking about
the tag match in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Purple Pyro goes off as 20-0.
Is he in NXT?
Appears on screen. The big zoom out shot to reveal the pyro. I'm like, those palm trees look stupid in context. Now, last year, medics were sent out to help Taker.
Yeah.
But this year, there's no medics. Instead, Shawn is kneeling over, trips his body, and he just gives Taker this look. Such a subtle look.
Mm-hmm.
And Taker knows exactly what he means. And they just help him up. And they walk out. And the Undertaker, in this moment, is literally an Undertaker. He's helping the dead Triple H, the era, pass on into the next life.
Triple H looks up at Taker, helping him. He's got this moment where he suddenly has you can see the moment of realization of Triple H. Like, he's helping me up. He's like, oh, what's going on? I think it's so good. It's genuinely like goosebumps and chills as they are talking about that this is the end of the era. This is the end of the Attitude Era.
Yeah, and they all get to the top of the ramp. They hug, and it's beautiful. It's almost as beautiful as Davey Richards versus Michael Elgin. The Ring of Honor.
Dave Meltzer would say this was billed as the end of an era with the idea that Undertaker, Michaels, and Triple H were the last 3 stars of their time. Let's forget that Kane was winning his match earlier in the show. Jim Ross was brought back to announce only this match. Why he didn't stay for the rest of the show was mind-boggling, particularly because he could have added so much to Jericho versus Punk and Rock versus Cena. In the past, when he's been brought back for Mania for one match, it's usually because the participants went to Vince McMahon directly and asked for it. I do recall both Undertaker and Michaels going to McMahon a few years ago and being shot down, which surprised everyone when he'd do it. But when Triple H makes the request, it is happening. In fact, Michaels, when he came out, immediately winked at Ross to acknowledge him being there. These guys got a lot more latitude with the ability to kick out of way more chair shots and sledgehammer shots than anyone else would be allowed to do, but this was a fantastic storytelling and will at least be among the best matches of the year, even if it wasn't the best of the weekend. 4 3/4 stars.
Yeah, deservedly so. Interesting placement.
An hour into this show.
An hour into the show. My theory is that Triple H and Undertaker didn't want to open the show because back then that was seen as a poor spot to be in. It was an undercard spot. But they didn't want to be anywhere near The Rock versus John Cena.
Yeah, didn't want to burn out crowd.
So this is the only place bang in the middle of the show where they can avoid both of those bits.
I think you're probably absolutely right. Brian Alvarez would say, it was an awesome match live. It didn't feel as good as last year's, but I would bet if I watched them both back-to-back on DVD or Blu-ray, this one would be superior. The key to me is that there was not only single points in this match where I actually thought Triple H was going to win. Last year, me, you, and everyone on God's green earth, including people who knew the finish, believed the Hunter was going to win when he hit that tombstone. The closest they came this year was a spot where Shawn upset the Undertaker had shoved him, super kicked Taker into a pedigree for a close near fall. I would estimate that 95% of the crowd bought it, but to me, it was just a clever spot. So it was missing something, but they told a hell of a story and worked super hard. I would go 4 3/4 stars. Though it kind of felt to me like Undertaker versus Triple H. It kind of felt like Undertaker versus HBK 2, which was also a terrific match, but a match where when I watched it, I just felt like I'd seen it all before. I hate to write anything negative about it because it was really damn good, but those were my thoughts. And no, it was not better than Davey Richards versus Michael Elgin, but I'm so happy that I got to see both of those matches this weekend. Probably the most memorable part of the match to me in 10 years' time will be the part where Taker took off his hood and revealed his bald head and suddenly immediately played a crash of thunder. That was hilarious.
Not a crash of lightning.
Nope. 50 minutes, essentially a quarter of the show is dedicated to just this match. It's nuts, man.
Yeah, it's probably longer than the main event.
Yeah, absolutely.
All in all,
yeah. Because you know the real stars. I don't. That's what Triple H is telling everyone. We get our Hall of Fame class. It is Ron Simmons, Mil Mascaras, The Four Horsemen, Yoko, Zuna, Mike Tyson, and Edge.
Yeah, the headliner, who just last year in the WrestleMania 27 episode, he is opening the show. He's the Royal... No, he was not. He's not the Royal Rumble winner. But he was opening the show, and now he's retired headlining the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It feels like it happened so fast. And he's got short hair.
I know.
It's not right.
It's not right. But like everyone's not looking at Edge. They're not looking at Mil Mascaras or Yoko's and his kids. They're looking at TNA's Ric Flair standing on the stage there.
Is he with... Oh, no way.
This was the deal that they struck. So, the behind the scenes leading up to this is that the first time someone from a rival organization that was still active was put in the Hall of Fame with Ric Flair as part of the Four Horsemen. TNA and WWE reached a business agreement to allow him to attend. TNA asked for little, just a WWE performer who was at TNA to appear for one day in TNA, not on television, but recording talking heads footage and commentate on an upcoming DVD release. They also asked for it to be announced that Flair was appearing through an agreement with TNA or make some sort of reference to Flair being a TNA wrestler. We don't know the details of what was settled, only that the latter didn't happen. But even though from a legal standpoint, TNA held the aces here since WWE had advertised that Flair and sold tickets without getting clearance. And TNA was the one that folded its hand. In the end, they knew it was a big deal to Flair and they didn't want to come across as petty. They did get someone from WWE, though, to appear at TNA.
It's a Christian.
That's
I
exactly
remember
right.
this. Yeah.
So Christian he inducts Sting into the Hall of Fame for Bound for Glory this year and does some Talking Head DVDs. Christian looks like he does not want to be there. It's quite sad. Like TNA don't get a lot out of this business agreement, and WWE got loads out of it.
Yeah, but I'm sure this time it will be different. I'm sure the one they announced in January 2025 will work for all sides equally.
Yeah, just ask Evolve. Hey, it's coming back. That's a WWE show. Josh Matthews will soon be interviewing Flow Rider, but Heath Slater walks up and he says, "Yo, should be interviewing me instead." That's my Heath Slater impersonation.
Very good.
So then Flo walks up and Heath says, "Hey, maybe we should do a duet together. Maybe I could be a DJ or a dancer." And Flo Rider pushes him into a wall and Tyler, what's his name? Kurt Hawkins
Rex.
and Tyler Rex walk up.
Laughing like hyenas. And they're like, "What are you doing? That's Flow Rider. He just laid you out, man." And like, you're making WWE wrestlers look so lame
Yeah.
because a pop star is here. It feels desperate.
Oh, mate. I mean, I know you haven't. Wait till you watch Raw 1000. If you think this is WWE making all of their current stars look lame for other people, just wait till you get to Raw 1000. That's pretty much the theme of the show. And also, because a lot of people did point us out, we did not talk about this on the last episode, but Tyler Rex is now Gabby Tuft. She transitioned in 2021. A lot of comments were just like, surprised you didn't mention it, so I'm mentioning it here.
Well, it wasn't relevant to the thing. Cool. We've mentioned it. Then we go into Team Johnny versus Team Teddy. So this is off the back of the Raw team with the Miz segment earlier. For some reason, there's like 100 people in each team.
Let's go through. So we have Brie Bella, John Laurinaitis, The Miz, Mark Henry, Drew McIntyre, Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler, David Otunga, Vicky Guerrero, and Michael Cole says he's the official commentator for Team Johnny.
Oh, I missed that one.
So that's 10.
Now, Brie Bella is the official ring announcer.
Yep.
She does the intros. Vicky is the official standard bearer.
Yeah, she's the flag waver.
She waves the flag of Johnny's face.
Correct.
Johnny face.
And then Team Teddy is Kofi Kingston, The Great Khali, R-Truth, Zack Ryder, Booker T, and Santino Marella, with Hornswoggle as the flag waver, who's also joined by Oksana and, of course, Teddy Long. And I've written here, there's also another woman. A quick Google tells me it was Eve Torres.
Eve Torres out with Zack Ryder.
20 people in this match.
Yes.
I've written here, there's a lot of people in this segment.
Yeah, well, it's let's give everyone the WrestleMania payday. Now let me see if I can find this. The way that Brie says her privilege. Privilege.
Is he in NXT?
Come over to my castle. My privilege. The music just makes me think. Privilege.
Team privilege.
The music just makes me upset. Like so many crappy roars. Pavlov's response in my head.
Not only that, it's Nickelback. It's like, what makes this feel more low rent? They come out to Nickelback of all bands. Yeah. Although I think the worst thing about this, it's not good, right? And it's not designed to be good. It's designed to be short. The crowd are so dead. This is getting zero reaction. But Jerry the King Lawler, when Johnny Ace comes out here, says that Johnny's suit would give Brother Love a heart attack. Because
it's the same suit.
Because Brother Love also wore a white suit and red tie. Pritchard had suffered a heart attack the previous month. And that's why King said it.
Good old funny humor.
Because Bruce Pritchard's working for TNA.
Right.
And so he's not a WWE guy anymore, so they don't like him. So they're making fun of him having a heart attack on commentary.
Well.
What a company.
Yeah, lovely.
So yeah, Kofi and Dolph start. They say that Christian was supposed to be part of this match, but he's not. So, don't know what happened there. The other thing I want to note about this match is if I get to 2 minutes and 3:36 when Booker T tags in, because I don't know if you know this about Booker T, but Booker T is a grunty soul when he starts doing moves.
Booker T, who came to Teddy Long's rescue this past Monday night, six-time world champion. Booker's supposed to be out here commentating with us, but instead he's in this match.
It's
Oh, the crowd aren't really reacting. Someone's got to pop for his moves. Yeah, the crowd go dead. Booker gets like some sort of hot tag. Match breaks down. Mark Henry just like brutally chucks Hornswoggle to one side in the melee outside.
Yeah, the flag bearer dives.
Yeah. Bella's, Oksana and Vicky, they all have a scramble outside as well. Booker T makes a hot tag to Santino. We get a Cobra near fall. Santino hot tags Ryder, which is what this should all be building towards, because Zack Ryder is, much to WWE's chagrin, still very over, one of the most over people in the company.
Despite their best efforts.
He runs wild. He jumps over Miz, but he hits the Rough Rider on Ziggler in a really good spot. He goes to do the broski boot on Miz, but Eve gets in there with him and does the taunt at the same time. And the referee's like, well, you shouldn't be in here.
And so Zack.
You know, that's the red line I'm drawing here. Not all the other interference we've had. And Zack's like, well, you shouldn't be here. And that lets the Miz run up, hit the skull-crushing finale, and Team Johnny wins.
That'll teach you for trying to get over.
And it also means that John Laurinaitis is now the GM of both Raw and SmackDown, and Teddy Long on the outside, who has just lost his job, doesn't look that upset.
So let's travel.
But Ryder's upset.
Yeah, well, surely, Zack Ryder got embarrassed a little bit there, but surely he'll get his WrestleMania moment after being over for so long in this calendar year.
Eve kicks him in the dick and walks off, and the rest of his teammates just stand around him, kind of looking worried.
That'll teach you for getting over. I mean, she was a heel earlier in the night. Like, what did you think was going to happen, Zach?
So, Daniel Bryan, beaten in 18 seconds. Cody, beaten just like with one WMD for a big show pop. And this happens to Ryder. All of your favorites, WWE don't want to be your favorites.
Yeah.
Awful time to be a fan.
Yeah, so this Eve thing is mad. I'm going to try and get this as quickly as possible. Eve moved into a storyline with Zack Ryder in December 2011, and the pair won a mixed tag match against Natalya and Tyson Kidd on December 26th. On the January 9th episode, Eve agreed to a date with Ryder, beginning a storyline relationship. Eve quickly became involved in a storyline between Ryder and his ally John Cena and Kane, who began targeting Ryder. After injuring Ryder, he turned his attention to Eve and tried to attack her until he was stopped by John Cena. On the February 6th episode of Raw, Eve suffered a legitimate broken nose when Beth Phoenix clotheslined her during a match. The following week, Cena saved Eve from being kidnapped by Kane, and Eve kissed him in thanks. Yeah. On the February 20th episode of Raw, Eve became a villain after she confessed backstage to the Bella Twins that she never liked Zack Ryder and didn't care about his injury that he suffered the previous week. She said that she was using him for publicity and planned to take advantage of John Cena the same way. Cena overheard her revelation and scorned her as she begged for forgiveness. Eve justified her actions by stating that she had no problem using men to achieve her goals and that she was, quote, a woman in a man's world. She wrestled her first match as a villain on the March 2nd episode of SmackDown, defeating Natalya. Ryder returned on March 5th episode of Raw, confronting Eve over her recent actions, but she managed to seduce him into forgiving her, and the two shared a long kiss backstage. At WrestleMania, even Beth Phoenix lost to Kelly and Maria Menounos in the tag match. Later that night, she accompanied Ryder to the ring for Team Johnny vs. Team Teddy, where she distracted Ryder, costing him and Team Teddy the match. After the match, she publicly humiliated by kicking him in the groin, sending him to his knees in agony. Zack Ryder is a geek. But John Cena's cool because he actually got to get one over on Eve, but not Zack.
Yeah. Oh, Zack Ryder's over. Okay, let's put John Cena in that storyline. Do everything we can do to bury Ryder in that and make Cena look better. Or that just made me not like Cena more. I'm like, dude.
I know, man. I know. Dave Meltzer said, after the match, Torres acted so sorry she was consoling Ryder, but then kicked him low and walked out the ring. While I get that she had to leave with heat, there was a whole slew of Team Teddy guys plus Aksana who just stood there while she did that and let her walk out. That came off so stupid. The lack of heat until the finish hurt it, but the work was fine. McIntyre suffered a shoulder injury during the match, but no update on the severity, 2.25 stars. And Brian Alvarez would say, nobody cared about this match at all. I mean, not one bit. I could have sworn my buddy Craig fell asleep during this match, but he not only insisted that he had not, but demanded a retraction of me claiming that he had done so. I don't know why he was so appalled. I wished I'd fallen asleep during this match. Miz then pins Zack. If that wasn't bad enough to be beaten by the guy with the longest losing streak of 2012 so far, Eve then turned on Zack and kicked him in the balls as the rest of the team just stood around and watched. Epic geek. So Laurinaitis runs Raw and SmackDown for a while, was told it may not be for long, 2 stars, and he was right there because by the time we get to Raw 1000, he's not the GM of Raw or SmackDown. And that's only 3 months away.
Yeah.
April, May, June. Yeah, 3 months away. So, oh man,
Can I show you this Michael Cole throw?
to
16-10. When he has to throw to the video package, putting over how awesome WrestleMania weekend is.
just look at the pained expression on Michael Cole's face. One more time for that replay.
Try and freeze it.
Rolled out the red carpet for some amazing events with our superstar divas in the WWE Universe.
That's it. Keep smiling.
And Jerry's like, yeah, you eat that. Eat that and like the taste.
So yeah, we get our video package for Access. I've written this could be the same video every year.
Oh my God, yeah, it felt like it was the spelling bee.
Yeah, they
it's the
play
Lawler
golf.
painting. They're playing golf. But there was a nice moment at the end where a fan proposed to another fan, and Punk was like, "We got a proposal over here." It was sweet.
I liked The Miz saying, tweeting all day long. You fucking nerd. Go home. So CM Punk is warming up backstage, and John Laurinaitis walks past him and said that Jericho's been testing him. But if you get yourself DQ'd in this match, you will lose the WWE Championship.
Yeah, I feel like that's an important story point that should have probably been set up on the Go Home Raw or the Raw before, not as Punk is walking out.
So we do get a video package for for Chris, may as well be, for Chris Jericho versus CM Punk for the WWE Championship. Jericho makes his entrance, then we get the video package, which is that Punk has exposed Punk's family history.
Jericho's exposed Punk's family history.
Sorry, thank you. Jericho has exposed Punk's family history, including that he is a bastard.
Yeah. Yeah, go and buy your mother and father's wedding certificate and your birth date. You're a bastard.
I don't know this for a fact. I think this is one of those weird Vince McMahon things that he's obsessed by, because they do this thing with Bossman and Big Show when Big Show was champion in '99, when Bossman reveals, well, your parents weren't wed when you were born, so you're legally a bastard.
Yeah.
And them doing it here makes me feel that there is a part of Vince McMahon's personality that he thinks being a bastard is weird. And
Is he a bastard?
Is he one?
I don't know.
I can't remember that from the Vince McMahon documentary series. But if it is, that would actually make a lot of sense. But it just felt like just doing two of those in the span of 12 years apart from each other, and such the similar, in the exact same wording as well, makes it feel like this is such a Vince McMahon thing that he's obsessed with this.
The other stuff is, very close to the line. It's very raw, but I thought it adds to the story and gives a real blood feud between them. And it's Jericho saying, look, I've uncovered that your dad's an alcoholic, your sister has substance abuse issues. These are why you're straight edge. Yeah.
I think it's really good. Also, this is like classic Punk as well. We get this with the Rock feud we're coming on to. But he has that line, I'm swimming with sharks while you're dancing with stars.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
And it's Punk is the best in the world, and Jericho is the best in the world at what I do. So it's these two catchphrases.
Love it.
Punk gets loads of pyro when he comes
Oh,
in,
he
which is
actually
cool.
does.
But even more important, Andy Garcia's in the crowd.
Because I thought the Pirates for Andy Garcia.
But wow, what a name. He was in he's in loads of things.
Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 12 as he's the the casino boss in Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
And probably a Godfather role.
Yep. 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in those
Go into
films.
IMDb and I'll double check. Punk kicks Jericho in the corner and teases the 5 count. I would have quite appreciated a little I have until 5 referee, but he does a little shout out to his friend Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Jericho basically spends the first portion of this match goading Punk into trying getting himself DQ'd, but he needs to keep his emotions in check. So Jericho goes, how's your father, CM Punk?
How's your sister? And then Punk grabs a chair and he's going to use it in the ring right in front of the referee. And Jericho's screaming, your sister's a drug addict.
Yeah, hit me.
And I just, I like the story that Punk can't get DQ'd. But even I don't think Punk would seriously grab a chair in this moment and go to use it in front of the referee.
Yeah.
I feel like he would use it not in front of... He's too smart for that.
He is too smart, but he needs to keep his emotions in check. That's more of the point they're trying to make here, right?
Yeah, I just think it's a bit over the top.
Yeah. So we get this moment when Punk nearly hits him with a chair as like Jericho begs him to do it, and some of the crowd do start chanting for Y2J at this point. But Cole says Punk is a Jeri-clone. I was like, isn't this Ollie Davis's pitch in 3 counts?
Well, yeah, for the learning tree.
Yeah. Calls him a Jeri-clone.
Oh, wow. Well, great minds.
Jericho drags Punk off the middle ropes for a nasty landing, and the counters lead into a walls of Jericho, but Punk manages to escape. He misses his elbow, and Jericho hits the code breaker back into the ring, right into a GTS, but Jericho gets his feet on the ropes, lion salt by Jericho for a near fall. I say a near fall, it's a 2 count. And Michael Cole says, how often have you seen people kick out of the lion salt? Loads, Mike.
Yeah, practically never wins.
I think probably every match that Jericho's ever had has had people kick out of the lion salt.
The counter wrestling in this is superb.
Yeah.
I actually think this is a really good match.
Me too.
But the crowd are still burnt out from the 50-minute Triple H Undertaker bout.
I think so, but again, they're not presented as the top guys or top stars. I think at this point, now that the Hell in a Cell match is over, this crowd are here to see The Rock.
Yeah, definitely. They probably don't even know who Punk is.
I don't know. It's the local Miami crowd, maybe. The traveling fans do, because they want guys like Punk and Cody and Bryan to be over. But I don't think they give this match enough towards the end, but I think it takes the crowd a little bit of time to warm up to it. Particularly in that counter wrestling, when Punk goes for that Hurricane Rana and Jericho like counters it into the walls. I think it's really, really great. Here's a tope suicida, the running knee, and Jericho bumps his head against the post. Punk tries a springboard, but Jericho catches him with a code breaker.
That's a great spot.
Like the Randy Orton spot from last year. Jericho goes up top, but Punk catches him. GTS, but Jericho catches and locks it into the walls. Jericho drags him back to the center of the ring. Punk manages to get into a small package. Series of rolls up into the Anaconda Vice, and Jericho tries to counter that with a pin, but back to the Anaconda Vice. So then he starts throwing these knee strikes to the back of Punk's head to break it up. But Jericho manages to transition, but Punk right back into that Anaconda Vice. Jericho tries the knees again, but it's not enough, and he taps out. I thought it was a great finish.
Because it felt like 2 guys like really having a dirty fight on the ground. And that final Anaconda Vice, that is anaconda-y.
Yeah.
He is, you know, like when Steve Austin's to John Cena, you got to snug that up.
Yeah.
This is the most snug submission. It looked like he was choking the guy's head off.
Yeah. I think it's so great. I think it's an awesome, awesome match. I really enjoyed it. Dave Meltzer gave it 3 3/4 stars. And
I think I would go 4. I mean, very close there.
Brian Alvarez would say Punk had a great fireworks entrance. They actually spent $500,000 on pyro for this show, and as a fan, it was worth it. Took 16 minutes before people started to care about this match, but they finally got them. It turned into a great battle. Dana White actually watched this match and the main event, perhaps to see the rumored Brock run-in, but probably more just to watch what WWE did production-wise for their biggest show of the year. Not a classic, but a very good WrestleMania match. It did suck to be Punk in the sense that about 30 seconds after he won, they went to a video package and just killed his music and the lights instantly dead. He looked so sad there, posing on the turnbuckle. 3 3/4 stars. I think that's a good way to sum this up. It is a good match, but it's not a classic WrestleMania world title match.
Because it's not the end of the feud.
No.
They have a match, they have a Chicago street fight at Extreme Rules the next month. And that's what the finish is there to build. It's not a big definitive climax moment. And I actually really like the way they do it. After Jericho taps out, Punk releases him. But Jericho is trying to kick Punk. Like, he's still trying to kick him after he's let go, and they're just staring evils at each other. So it's like these 2 guys still hate each other. There's loads in the tank for a rematch. But that doesn't scream WWE Championship at WrestleMania.
They've said in the past as well that one of the plans they had for this match was that Jericho would tattoo Punk in the match.
Whoa.
But then when they found out that, he'll probably bleed when we do it, they're like, can't do it then.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy. What was he going to tattoo?
I think he was going to tattoo something about like drugs or alcohol on him.
I'll change, I wouldn't tell him, little penis. Yeah, I did something for the storyline.
Little few spurts at the end there.
Couple of hairs, couple of pubes.
We get the video announcement that WrestleMania next year is coming to New York. Probably New Jersey, but New York.
Look at this lame ass. It is little clips. I'm not gonna actually play the music. It's clips of people at kind of New York specific locations holding green screens where they play video clips, all with not a Blink-182 song, as you'd think, because it's Tom DeLonge doing the singing. It's Angels and Airwaves, a song called Surrender. But yeah, this is lame.
Yeah.
This is a lame way to promote an event and make it look fun.
Look at that. It is so much in New Jersey. It is just in New Jersey. But because they don't like New Jersey, but they like New York, it's the Empire State Building and all these New York and New Jersey. They're different places.
It's a 3D graphic, and it's sort of twisted in a way where you see less of NJ. So it's just like NY, Wrestle New York, Mania,
New Jersey, I guess.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, poor Sopranos. Can I?
So you want? I will have a little bit of sound for this though, because they show a replay of the thing from earlier, the jet fighters, but the way that they cut it includes some of Lillian Garcia still singing.
Oh yeah.
So you just get. This,
I think I know what you mean.
Get this little noise.
Lillian Garcia beautifully sang "America the Beautiful" tonight.
And you think, oh, that was a funny noise. I wonder if they'll have it in the second replay.
I know, an F-15 flyby right over the stadium. It was amazing. Check this out.
It's like she's calling them.
Oh, I like to think that's what they sound like. Whee! Drone strike, take out Middle Eastern territory.
So then we get Brodus Clay coming out for a promo. Got to bring the crowd down.
What the hell is this? Yeah, so thank you, John Cena, for having a dump, because we got Brodus Clay comes out. He's the Funkasaurus. He's with Naomi. She's a Funkadactyl.
Yeah, and Cameron.
Cameron, who we saw at ringside on last year's
Yeah, we
WrestleMania,
did.
because she was going to be in Tough Enough. And she was the first person eliminated in Tough Enough. She is the only person with a job in the next year's WrestleMania.
Oh man, my favorite thing though is, we talked about earlier. It was like, you got to just say something. Where's my mouse gone? Where's the mouse?
There it is.
When you sort of you go out there, but you haven't really planned what you're going to say, and so then you have to try and sort of make it up as you go, but then you don't really know what else to do. So you're like, it kind of ends up like bad improv.
Well, it's most of this podcast.
Yeah, because what he does is he's like, everyone get out your phones because we're all going to call our mama. His theme song is, someone call my mama. And so that's what he's going to do. They cut to one guy doing it. But Brodus is like, I've got a plan, guys. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to call my mama. And then, we're going to do the dance. What are you going to say? I'll figure out when I get there.
Yeah.
Mama, can you hear me now? Mama. Yeah, Mama. We at WrestleMania, Mama. I don't have time for that right now, Mama. I sure wish you was here, Mama, to see all this greatness.
To see all this greatness.
There's a sea of people looking at me.
To see all this greatness.
Yeah, and he says, oh, you're already actually here. Oh, you've brought the Bridge Club. And I don't want to play the music.
Well, we had so much edited off the last video. No, let's not play with fire, eh?
So this woman comes out. Oh, but the joke is she is an old lady. Oh, but she can dance. Look, it's clearly a woman dressed up as an old lady. Okay, well, I don't really see why this has to be on.
Look how little effort
The wrestling
Brodus Clay is
show.
putting into this.
Yeah. Well, it's
So low energy.
And then loads more. This is the
Bridge Club.
Although they're all wearing the same outfit. So it's a Bridge Club with a uniform?
Yeah. Doesn't your Bridge Club have a uniform?
No, it doesn't.
Look how little effort he is doing.
You know what? Actually, watching this without any sound is feels like an existential crisis. When they remove Garfield from all the Garfield strips. This is hypnotizingly bad.
Mm-hmm. Remember that
Ellis, so what? Because you don't know what's really happened. Like, what's your thoughts on this?
I don't know. It's just bizarre. Why are their bums so big? They look like the mom in Tom and Jerry.
Oh my God!
They look like,
It's the same dress. It's the same dress.
That's probably
Vince McMahon not knowing anything past 1950s.
Yeah, so that's a thing that happened. Thank you, John Cena.
Yeah. I keep running my notes. This is still going. It goes on way longer than you think. It goes on way longer than Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus.
We used to say this in the dark days of WWE, but I felt dumber. I felt actively dumber from watching it.
Yeah. But hey, it's all right because finally the main event is here. It's once in a lifetime as John Cena takes on The Rock. It's simple. It's me. It's John. It's the fans. That's why this is special. This should be a much more, heated story.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just like, isn't it nice that this is happening? That's the story of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool. This is happening, isn't it?
I guess so,
Oh,
yeah.
do you guys hate each other? Why are you fighting? Well, I guess because it's nice, isn't it?
It's me, The Rock, the fans.
Yeah.
P. Diddy comes out and the crowd boos. And then Machine Gun Kelly comes out and gets booed some more. I need Kevin Owens to come out and powerbomb this fool.
Yeah, those are the days. So Machine Gun Kelly is relatively fresh. He only released his big single quite late the previous year. The album is not yet out.
Wow. Yeah. The lady he is dancing with is dressed like Leela from The Fifth Element.
I like that reference.
Thank you. And then, as if this crowd weren't going to boo him anymore, he's like, big shout out to the true underdogs out there, like John Cena.
Yeah. He said, like, he does a spoken word bit in his song, and he talks about seeing one of the biggest egos getting beaten by the underdog. So not only is he endorsing John Cena, he's criticizing the beloved Rock. And then Cena comes out and he's doing his stuff to the camera. He's like, we got people behind the scoreboard. He's pointing at like how many people there are. I'm like, can't you just take anything seriously for once in your dumb kayfabe career? And he's smiling. I'm so annoyed by him. And he runs down to the ring in his weird bag of spanners physique way. And he goes to an old lady in the front row. It's Betty Scarland again. Do you remember? This, there's not much about it. I googled who, just to make sure, who is he hugging? There are no articles saying this is who John Cena hugs at the start of WrestleMania 28. It is the same woman he hugs at Survivor Series 2011.
Yeah.
She is the widow of WWE Hall of Famer Arnold Scarland. And for some reason, they just have quite a sweet relationship. Cena's tweet on the 28th of December 2011, the best part of Madison Square Garden that shows over the Christmas period a couple of months before this, seeing Betty Scarland. She is a doll, so many great stories. She is truly wonderful.
He also gives her his room key.
Does he?
Yeah, he hands her his room key.
What? Does he actually not like a bit of John Cena merch?
I've got to skip ages here because there's so many bloody music performances.
But, you know, how would she know what room it is?
I was hoping you would say that. Where is this weird run? Oh, yeah,
there she is.
Okay, so
he's in the ring. He gets out of the ring.
Here he goes.
And
He's
he goes
wearing
over
the green.
And look, he's got something in his, and it's, there's my room key.
Oh, so it's and I guess people do receive it like, oh, what a saucy.
Yeah. Well, she even goes like, oh, I'm getting laid tonight.
Yeah. John Cena.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he put out
widows.
he put out that nice tweet about her in December. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to play the long game here. I'm going to put this out into the long grass, and I'm going to pay dividends when come WrestleMania when she's there again. Come WrestleMania.
He's doing that. He's endorsing the widow. He gets the big pop entrance. And there are so many signs that say, Cena sucks. Cena's ass.
If Cena wins, we riot. Guys, your fans don't like him much. And then Flo Rida comes out to do more music, and he has the audacity to play 2 songs.
Yeah, he merges sometimes I'll get this feeling into his other big hit. And that bird was a wild one. Hoo.
Listen, when I was in school, I was in my 6th form. I was in a band, and we had to play a show for the other years, like the other school kids, right?
Yeah.
And we were told, like they brought us down to play this show to kind of like, inspire some kids because maybe they might want to go and form some bands and stuff. But they told us that we can only do 1 song. So we just merged 3 of our songs together. That is what Flo Rida did here. They told him, go out there and play 1 song. And he quite cleverly merged 2 of his songs together. It's like, I'm getting my shit in, brother.
Yeah. But he actually ends his song to cue up the Rock's music with... Oh, I need the music. No.
You got it quick.
If you're small. You see, that's what I think the Rock's new music should be. Yeah, so the basic structure of this is each of John Cena and The Rock get their own full-on musical performance by genuine pop stars. It doesn't feel like a wrestling show anymore. This is why I keep saying it feels like the Rock and Wrestling of WrestleMania 1.
You're absolutely right.
But it's the crap version.
But I think one of the problems with this, the presentation of this, and it's not just the fact that they're not focusing enough on the actual story they've been telling for a year, it's that they kind of also have to twist reality somewhat, because Michael Cole says these are 2 icons in their prime. I don't want to The Rock is not in his prime here. The Rock was in his prime 10 years ago. That's the story that you're telling. It is the old versus the new, but The Rock doesn't want to feel like an old star, so you have to announce that I am also in my prime. But you're not, though.
Yeah, it's not the story.
It's not the story, man.
It's not experience over youth.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, they're just both great.
Yeah.
And that's the story of that's not the story of the feud building up to this show, but that's the story on the night. And it really feels more like a big boxing main event at this point. It's like the most Saudi levels 10 years before Saudi boxing shows.
This crowd are electric for this match. Like, all that noise that was not there for Punk and Jericho is all here for this main event.
Yeah, and you get that all the time on the boxing cards because the vast majority of people, me included, are not watching for even the match before the main event. It is all about the main event. And to be honest, as soon as Rock comes out and he's got his little black pants on, Y fronts, trunks for Americans, I'm like, all is forgiven. Because that is The Rock.
It is.
That is The Rock from my teenage years.
Even with the goatee.
And
getting styling tips from Jim Ross.
He gets such a deeper crowd reaction.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Not just deeper as in lower, which it is, because there's not as many kids cheering for him. But yeah, just it felt real. And it was good in that moment.
I mean, this is what me and my friends got together for. We were there to see, because we thought that Punk and Jericho was going to be awesome. It's Punk versus Jericho. But this is really why we all got together to watch this show. It's why I bought WrestleMania the year previous, is because The Rock was on the show. We got together to watch this because we wanted to see The Rock's first singles match in nearly a decade. And we were so excited to see it.
So they're in the match, in the ring, and they try and start off with the Hogan-Rock stare side to side. Doesn't work nearly as well.
They have tried that so often since WrestleMania X8, and it's never got that reaction.
Yeah. And I think it's because... So X8's in an arena, right?
Yes, in Toronto.
Yeah, so it's a stadium, doesn't have a lid. So the noise is going to get lost a lot more. But when the bell rings, it does go super loud.
Yeah.
So they were into it from there.
The crowd was so massively into this, and Rock does his arm drags early on, and Cena has this look on his face of like, I don't know what I've got myself in for here. I know what I'll do. Bad leapfrogs and terrible headlock takeovers and go immediately into a rest hold.
The first thing you learn in wrestling school is the international sequence, which is the run you into the ropes, jump over, do the leapfrog, drop down. Like it's in so many matches at the start because you can trust every wrestler will know that sequence, and then you improvise from there.
Yeah.
And Cena cannot do it. He moves. His moves are so aesthetically horrible to look at.
Yeah.
Like his leapfrog in the international.
I don't know, man.
He's just lifting one leg up.
Yeah. It's weird. Like he doesn't know quite how to lift his own feet or jump.
He's an action figure who hasn't got full mobility.
So we're talking about this. He is a bad action figure who's got low points of articulation. Every other wrestler's got loads of points of articulation, but Cena is one of those cheaper figures where maybe the arms move, but the legs are just stiff ski. You can make them sit down, but you cannot make them kneel down.
Whereas The Rock is borderline Stretch Armstrong. He's a wave. He's this electricity force. And Cena rolls out the ring because he's surprised how good The Rock is, despite him wrestling with him in November.
Yep.
So he should have seen this coming. It's not different. And I guess the story is that, he's underestimated him. And maybe that makes sense because that's why he was smiling in the entrance.
Yeah, I know, but like... The last time we saw these two together getting physical in the ring, certainly in a match-wise, it was at Survivor Series 2011 when he gave him the rock bottom and embarrassed him in Madison Square Garden. There's just no fire from Cena. But similarly, there's not really much fire from The Rock either in terms of, I am here to prove that you are nothing but a Fruity Loop weirdo and men like me, The Rock, and little stupid boys like you because they're idiots and you're an idiot. There's none of that here. It's all of a sudden just become... an exhibition match that you're lucky to see. And we're all lucky to be part of.
And boy, aren't we lucky. Because then, as you said earlier, Cena gets in the ring and gets The Rock in a ground-based bear hug.
Oh.
And then he throws him against the barricade and then gets him in a bear hug in the ring.
It's so long.
Bear hug in 2012.
But not only is it a bear hug, it's a bad bear hug.
It's like a snuggle.
Yeah. Cena does not lock things in. He does. You know that whole thing of like, you should always protect your opponents. You don't want to hurt your opponent for real. So what Lance Storm always says, if you punch someone for real, you're not wrestling, you're just punching someone. John Cena does not want to hurt his opponents for real, but also not make it look like he is either. So he's just giving him a nice cuddle. Yeah. And it goes on for so long. And it means that Rock has to do his big over-the-top, you know the Rock cell when he got hit by the spear at last year's WrestleMania? He has to do all of that to try and make Cena's bear hug look good, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, it's all to build The Rock's comebacks, of course. It's a pretty standard template of match. There's nothing innovative here in the slightest.
Yeah.
Rock sets up a people's elbow, but Cena pops up, hits his template moves, goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle, and Cena here is smiling like a heel. I mean, maybe that's just me interpreting.
He is playing up to the crowd booing him. In only that way that Cena can do, which is like, I don't mind if you boo me.
Rock gets into a yay boo spot, and there he's doing the punch, goes to do the big slap finish that The Rock does, but he stops and does the "you can't see me" taunt. But Cena picks him up off of that cockiness into an AA. Mm-hmm. That was a really good sequence.
Very good sequence. Good of a kick out. This is where the crowd start to pick up a little bit because this crowd are so electric at the start of this match and are so wild for it. But Cena's submission game, like his rest holds, kills this crowd dead to the point when they do a double down and the crowd don't react to it. Like there is noise, but they're not into it. It's only when they then go into big move, kick out, big move, kick out, that they actually pick the crowd back up again. It's actually the opposite of what happened with Triple H and Taker, which is that the crowd are so into it from the start that when you do big move, kick out, it's actually just exacerbating the noise that people are making.
That happens here with The Rock going straight into a rock bottom for a near fall. Ugly top rope leg drop from Cena on Rock's head.
He looks so awkward up on the top rope.
There's a long sharpshooter period. This is working the Cena bit over. Cena starts doing that selling where he just looks asleep. I guess the pain in his legs means his body just goes to sleep.
It's not all connected with Cena.
Cena gets the STF in. So it's just like, it's a lot of elongated submissions to draw out the length of the match so it feels more big time.
I did laugh because they have done that. So they get another sharpshooter and Cena gets the ropes and the crowd boo. On the outside, Rock throws him into the steps, but Cena rolls in and immediately gets the STF on the Rock. And it's so rubbish.
Yeah.
And then Cena drags him back into the center of the ring and somehow puts on a worse STF than he did the first time round.
He could drive a bus through the gaps in Cena's arms.
And then Rock does his arm drop gimmick, which is a classic Rock staple where you drop the arm down one,
so good.
Drop it a second time, go to drop it, whoa, and then he powers up. And I've written here, all right, guys, let's take this home, shall we?
Yeah. Well,
nope, they do a double down.
That's one of my favourite spots.
Yeah.
But Rock then hits the spine buster, people's elbow. It's only a near fall. Cena goes to the top rope, but Rock pushes him off. Hits a top rope splash, the Rock does. But Cena rolls through.
It's the crossbody. It's his old finish.
Ah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I can see. And hits an AA, but that's a near fall. And then Cena goes to do the 5-knuckle shuffle, but wait a second. Just like The Rock did my taunt earlier, I'm going to do his move. And he does, like a really low-effort people's elbow taunt, but with this crap-eating grin on his face. It's a great heel performance.
Really good heel performance for someone who's not turning heel.
The little smile he gives himself, he's so cocky, and he bounces off the ropes straight into a rock bottom. And The Rock wins. It's a fantastic finish.
So I've written here, fantastic finish to what is otherwise a boring match. But it's such a good finish.
And then Cole says, I don't think there was a loser tonight. Like, what? Why would you say that? You're undermining that Cena lost.
Well, yeah, King says the real winner was the WWE Universe.
It's not a participation trophy. It's the main event of WrestleMania.
Of what Cole says is the greatest WrestleMania of all time.
Rock hugs Mike Chioda. Pyro goes off everywhere. That's the show.
There would have been the option to do the great story where Cena's life falls apart because of this, that builds to the rematch next year where he has to not only conquer this demon but win back the WWE Championship and get his life back on track. And I think that they bottle it because they don't want to have Cena lose or look weak for a year.
Yeah.
So they just don't do it and then pretend that they did when they get to WrestleMania 29, which I think undermines the main event of WrestleMania 29 somewhat. And I'll be interested to see, you know how we said, like, I preferred the first Triple H Taker match to the second one? I don't remember which of these two matches I liked more because I don't think either of them are particularly good.
It's number one.
So it's now
I'll tell you.
Because I think the second one is worse, if I remember correctly.
Because he gets injured really early on.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
He changed movie insurance forever.
So I couldn't remember which was the worst one, but I think it is the second one. But I'm curious now because I have not rewatched it in... well, almost since it happened, probably.
Well, we'll have the pleasure of doing that soon.
I do like the finish of the match, but
Yeah,
I think the match is incredibly boring for how long it is, and it is mostly down to Cena's not the guy to work on top and have The Rock be the babyface who makes the comeback. It just doesn't work. Dave Meltzer would say this felt like a by-the-numbers, well-laid-out match. This was an excellently laid-out match, and the guys were good enough to overcome their weaknesses and pull it off. Cena wasn't the smoothest, but Rock really got tired. In the end, you could see Rock rubbing Cena's head to thank him for the match. 3 3/4 stars.
Really good match, but Cena couldn't work it, and The Rock was tired.
Well, what he's basically saying was, like, they are good enough to pull off a basic match and make it look good.
Yeah.
And Brian Alvarez would say, as much as people hated Cena, he felt like a big-time star here. By far the biggest star on the show up until this point, and nobody was even close. Rock then came out, and the place just had a meltdown. Nobody sat down for the first 10 minutes of this match. And then we got Rest Hold City because it appeared Rock got tired and people sat down. They really lost the crowd for a while. Though you could hear a scattered chants for Rock and Cena and also chants of "you can't wrestle" and same old shit. Rock looked totally blown up about 20 minutes in, and then they did the longest STF spot of all time to give him a breather. I cannot conceive the reaction if John Cena had beaten The Rock clean. Not only did the finish make everyone happy, but 5 years from now, I suspect people have forgotten that, in fact, the match really wasn't all that good. It was a 39-year-old Rock. God, imagine being that old. Yeah. It was a 39-year-old Rock who hasn't wrestled a 30-minute singles match in at least 8 years versus a guy who can't have a great match with a great opponent, but isn't exactly going to carry a blown-up Rock for 20 minutes to a 5-star classic. It was pretty much exactly what I expected it to be, no better, no worse, but it was the right finish at the right time in front of the right crowd on the right day. The stars aligned, and that's all you can ask for sometimes. 2.5 stars.
2.5 stars! Oh, I thought he was going much higher with that write-up.
Yeah, and there is, that's WrestleMania 28. Is it better than 27?
So, I prefer the first Triple H Undertaker match. Mm-hmm. But this has Punk Jericho and a much better main event. Not a perfect main event, but so much better than one of the worst main events of all time with The Miz. True. But it's such a blur show. Yeah, it's better. I'd say it's better.
I think it is. Because you're right. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, I do think that Triple H 2 is better than 3. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think this has got more positives coming out of it. But those positives do have a little shadow of negative over them, which is that, hey, all the best stuff came from the people who won't be there next week. And I think this one is far more excessive than 27 in terms of the celebrity appearances and like the 3 musical performances, really. So yeah, I don't think either of them are good. But this is a bad stretch of WrestleManias, because I'm quite famously I don't like 26 either. So I think this is a bad stretch of WrestleManias, but I do think this one is better than 27.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Well, the next episode will be Raw 1000, which you can watch right now over on patreon.com/WrestleTalk. That, spoiler, is where CM Punk turns heel on The Rock.
Yeah, we get the return of D-Generation X, the return of the Brothers of Destruction, the return of Dude Love. There's loads of stuff on there for fans of the Attitude Era, and a killer main event angle. So that's available right now over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. And next month here on YouTube, we will be looking at Twice in a Lifetime when we review WrestleMania 29.
Will we?
Oh, no, we're not. I do this every time. No, you're absolutely right. The next episode will be Royal Rumble 2014, which is where The Rock challenges CM Punk for the WWE Championship. So that's all coming up next month here on WrestleTalk. Thank you so much for watching this. Leave a comment down below. What did you think of WrestleMania 28? And if you haven't already, go watch WrestleMania 27, or at least our review of WrestleMania 27, by clicking the video on screen right now. Until then, I've been Luke Owen, DAD. That has been Ollie Davis. Jam that jam!
Oh, we can smell what he's cooking. Yes, we can also see him. Because welcome to 8 times in a Lifetimes, our new series where we are going through the full